got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. I got killer beats, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA.
Hello and welcome back to my channel, FIC Fantasy. Today, we're kicking off the first part of our series, What If Naruto Was in Fairy Tale? The author of this story is Lanky Nathan, from FFnet. Now, let's dive into the fanfic.
Chapter 1. Okay, something has to be up for Naruto to actually be later than Kakashi-sensei. Ma, don't say that. I had a perfectly good reason because of... Liar. Whatever. I just wish Dobe would hurry the hell up. We are missing out on training. Today, we find 3 of the members of Team 7 awaiting the arrival of their 4th member with varying degrees of patience. Like usual, their sensei had turned up a good 2.5 hours late. Strangely though, what was unusual was that a certain blonde-haired nuisance was running even later than that. While incredibly annoying, more of a handful than a daycare center on a sugar rush, the one thing that could be said about him was that he was never late. More or less. Sighing again, Sakura raised a hand to her brow and squinted into the distance. Hang on a second, I think I see him. A dust cloud was rapidly rising as a small figure was racing towards them. Skidding to a halt, the said figure revealed itself to be none other than their missing member. Before even managing to get a word in, Sakura near blew him off his feet as she shouted at him. If there was one thing anyone could say about the girl, was she had a good set of lungs. What the hell took you so long? We have been standing here a good 45 minutes longer than usual because of you. Sasuke-kun has been missing out on vital training. Satisfied that she had disciplined the boy, Sakura sent her crush an endearing look as she searched for approval. She was quickly disappointed to realize he didn't even look at her. Clearing an ear, Naruto sent Sakura his wounded puppy look, but that was quickly replaced with a scowl and middle finger raised proud after Sasuke gave the boy a menacing look. It was then the group noticed the roll of ninja wire slung over his shoulder. Naruto-kun, what, pray tell, have you got all that ninja wire for? The boy frowned slightly and motioned for his teacher to lean in closer. Cupping a hand around his mouth, he began whispering into the older man's ear. Well, it's kinda hard to explain. You see, I have a small problem with my auric no jutsu. As if on cue, Naruto instantly was shrouded in a white smoke cloud as a bamf sounded out. Kakashi coughed and waved his hand to clear his mouth. Naruto-kun, what are you play? Oh my. The man's only visible eye widened significantly as he took in the sight before him. Where Naruto once stood was now a very leggy, very curvy, and very CC blonde girl with a frustrated look on her face, trying with some difficulty to hold her breaths up. DMNIT. Looking down, Kakashi then noticed her sizable cleavage poking out of the now too tight top she was wearing. In that moment, Kakashi was never more thankful for the mask he always wore, or else the girl before him would have been introduced to a bloodbath, courtesy of one perverted jounin's nose. Naruto made an upset noise and started whining, "Ma, and why does this have to happen now? Naruto." Not giving the girl a chance to think or even look up, Sakura charged over, fist raised and seeing red at Naruto's apparent perversion. She unleashed a righteous uppercut not too far short the power of an exploding tag right into the unsuspecting chin of the perturbed blonde and sent the poor child flying over the trees and into the town. She held the pose for a few seconds, breathing frantically from the exertion. It wasn't until an incredibly girly scream rang out that the pink-headed girl blinked and lowered her hand. Oh dear. Turning, she saw her sensei holding up a very familiar pair of bright orange breathes. Wah! She then heard Sasuke behind them let out a giant snort. Considering this was Sasuke, he well could have been rolling around on the ground in fits of laughter. Sakura couldn't work out what it was that was so funny, but it was nice to see some emotion on her normally stony heartache. More girly screams echoed out in the distance and Sakura looked up questioningly at Kakashi, who was still mesmerized by the breaths he was holding. Having had enough, Sakura grabbed them from him and clicked her fingers in front of her teacher's face. Oi! Wake up! Just what is so entertaining? Kakashi snapped out of it and looked at the girl with a raised eyebrow. You honestly don't know? Know what? Sakura could swear she felt Sasuke roll his eyes at her. What? Kakashi sighed and pointed at the breathes. Okay. Those are clearly Naruto's breathes. And Naruto is now running through the streets of Konoha. Makes sense. Sakura's stomach sunk. But, why are they here? Any moron knows to strap their breathes of securely for the day. She heard an exasperated sigh from the powerful boy behind her. Turning to him, she wilted under the glare. She then cringed slightly when Sasuke quietly muttered, so much for the grade's smartest girl. Eyes now at the ground, Kakashi started explaining it in more detail to her. Yes, even Naruto would remember something like that, but in his current form, didn't you notice his breathes being a great deal looser than usual? You just punched him into the main street of Konoha, right in peak hour, in his female form, with no breathes on. Sakura's eyes widened and she made a small eeping noise before dropping the breathes. Now she could understand why Sasuke had found it so hilarious. Hearing a rustle, the group turned to look towards a bush by their side. Slipping through came Naruto, a healthy blush across her cheeks and equally healthy curses being muttered about the majority of the male population. After freeing herself from the last of the snags, Naruto looked up at Sasuke. The smallest of smirks was on his face, no doubt enjoying every second of Naruto's pain. Instantly assuming the arrogant boy had her clothes, Naruto stormed up and poked him several times in the chest. Where the hell are my pants? Taking a step back, Sasuke looked down in distaste at the point the girl had touched him. Please restrain yourself from touching me. I do not wish to catch whatever diseases you currently have. Watching the argument, Sakura noticed Naruto holding down her jacket top over the front of her. Ahem, more private anatomical parts. Unable to get a clear view, for some reason Sakura couldn't seem to make out any fabric under the jacket. Naruto. Do you have underwear on? Hearing a thump, Sakura's question was indirectly answered as Kakashi hit the ground. It seemed the man had just copped an eyeful of Naruto's unclothed rump and had promptly passed out. It didn't really help things that he had his Sharingan out, the tomos spinning furiously as the dojutsu burned the image into the mind of the Jounin forever. Growling, the blonde refocused her anger as she walked over to the downed man and began kicking him in the ribs. Dobe, please stop kicking Kakashi-sensei. No matter how much you love running around naked, we have things to do. Do that kind of thing in your spare time. Giving her sensei a final solid boot, Naruto whipped around and glared at her teammate. Damn it Sasuke, it's not funny. I nearly got raped out there. Now where the hell are my breathes? Sasuke shrugged dismissively and turned away from her. What do I look like, your nanny? Why would I know where they are? Naruto began grinding her teeth together in fury as she desperately tried to glare holes into and through her mocking rival's back. Taking a step forward to extract revenge on Sasuke, she felt a tug on her sleeve and saw Sakura holding up her breathes, the girl's other hand covering her eyes in disdain. Here are your breathes. Now. For the love of all things good and holy in this world, put them back on. XXXX. About an hour later, Team 7 now found themselves standing in front of the Hokage's desk. Tsunade had a raised eyebrow as she surveyed the unusual team. Kakashi had a happy, faraway look in his eye. Sakura was glowering at Naruto, and Naruto, still in his female form, had her arms crossed under her chest and was pouting, breathes held up by what looked like a roll of ninja wire. To top it all off, the last Uchiha was doing what he did best, except he kept glancing at his teammate and smirking occasionally. Not a good sign. Rubbing her temple, Tsunade could tell this was going to be a long day. Okay. Would someone please explain what is happening here and why Naruto is a girl? Naruto huffed unhappily as Kakashi stepped forward, running somewhat on autopilot. Hokage-sama, it seems that Naruto-kun has lost control over his auric no jutsu somehow and is swapping between his male and female self. Tsunade raised both eyebrows when she heard that. Really? How long has this been happening? Naruto looked over miserably, pout still firmly in place. I do know, sometime last night I think. I went to bed normal but when I woke up I was a girl. Do you have any idea how freaky it is to wake up to your pork sword gone? Sasuke blanched and glared at Naruto. What have I told you about details, dope? Please, you're nasty enough without knowing what goes on in your breathes. Naruto flinched and the gender-troubled teen started leaking killer intent towards the pale boy. Before a fight could break out, Sakura grabbed Naruto's head and turned it back to face Tsunade. Grating her teeth, Naruto continued. So. Yeah, anyway, I then found out I couldn't find any breathes that fit me, so I had to make up this belt to hold my breathes up. The only problem with that though was that when I turned back into a boy, it. At that exact moment, Naruto's haywire jutsu decided to undo itself and display exactly what happened when he changed back. Hook. Naruto was now a boy again and gasping on the ground, the ninja wire constricting his gut and airways significantly as the boy struggled to breath. He flapped around manically for a few seconds before managing to release the knot holding his breaths tight. The resulting intake of oxygen made everyone's ears pop from the pressure drop. Gah! I thought I was gonna die. Well, that would have saved someone the trouble. Instantly on his feet, Naruto rushed Sasuke. The next thing that the raven-haired boy knew was the sensation of flight as Naruto unceremoniously tossed the boy out of the Hokage's tower via the window. There was a pop though and Naruto could make out Tsunade's chair flying away through the air. Turning, he glared at the conceited Uchiha. Sakura however hadn't noticed the Kawarimi and was now positively seething that the dead last had done something so barbaric to her Sasuke-kun. Growling in rage, she grabbed the disgruntled boy and quickly threw him out the window as well. Noticing a pop in the distance, she whirled around to see Naruto pouting. Why'd you have to go do that, Sakura-chan? I nearly didn't get time to substitute. Growling again, she made to march over and get the real one, but her shoulder was caught by a scarily firm grip. Looking up, she saw the Hokage looking down at her, daring her to try it again. Meeping timidly, Sakura jumped back into place and fell silent. Good move, brat. Had you tried that stunt again, I can promise you that you would have been flying across the city via my foot. Looking back at her main problem, she nodded at Naruto. Right. I can see your problem now. Can you tell me anything about what happens when you change? Like if it feels different in any way. Naruto's eyes thinned to slits as he cupped his chin and struggled to remember. Well. I do know it feels pretty much the same as usual, except for the fact that I can't dispel it. Oh wait, actually I do feel. Trailing off, he looked over at Sakura. Moving up to Tsunade, he whispered quietly in her ear, I actually feel that old bag of a fox's power spike a little when I change. I have no idea what that means but. Leaning back, the older lady sighed in confusion. Had that DMN fox suddenly developed a warped sense of humor or something? Furthermore, how was it even able to influence Naruto's abilities? Shouldn't the seal be inhibiting that? Sighing, she shook her head. Okay. As of now Team 7 is on leave until we work out what is exactly going on with Naruto. Kakashi, you can train Sakura and Sasuke like normal but Naruto isn't allowed. An undignified, what, sounded out from said boy but Tsunade ignored him. We can't have you using any chakra in the state you're in. So until we work out what is wrong, no chakra manipulation. Got that? Naruto instantly turned on his most whiny voice and raced up to Tsunade. But Bachan, that's not fair. Knocking him flat to the floor, Tsunade's eye twitched as she stood over him. No. No more training until Jiraiya gets back. That will be about 3 days, so just go home and sleep or something until then. Naruto muttered something into the ground that sounded suspiciously like a swear word and quickly rolled out of reach of the Hokage. Chapter 2. Naruto grumbled to himself as he watched the rest of his team walk away from the Hokage tower. Flipping them off to their backs, the now bored genin stuffed his hands into his pockets and started walking home, angrily kicking some rocks in front of him. One managed to fly off and through the window of a shop whose owner did not like him at all. Seeing the furious man stomp out, Naruto sighed. Today couldn't be more sucky. What the hell do you think you're doing, you little gutter rat? You are so paying for that. Raising his middle finger for a second time in as many minutes, Naruto stuck his tongue out at the man. I think I was just about to leave Grandpa. Maybe if you didn't have your shop in such a stupid place it wouldn't have gotten busted up in the first place. The flawed logic stumped the man long enough for Naruto to make a quick dash for safety. Naruto rounded a corner just as the man started chasing him. He smirked though, as there was no way that old fart could follow him through the streets. He wasn't called the street fox for nothing. It was then though that the cursed jutsu reared its ugly head. In a puff of smoke and a girly squeal, Naruto tumbled to her face as her breaths promptly dropped to her ankles. Coughing the dust away, she totally forgot about the furious shopkeeper following her. The man rounded the corner and skidded to a stop, quite taken back by what was now facing him. All he saw was a bum in the air, highlighted by dust and orange clothing as well as a blonde head now buried in the dirt. All logic left the man's head as the fury of being mooned encompassed him. In a battle cry of rage, he charged the child, murder evident in his eyes. A moment before he landed a dangerous kick to the unprotected behind, a flash of green grabbed the leg and twisted him in a way that he ended up swinging his leg through sweet fresh air. The momentum carried through him and he found himself in a crumpled heap on his head, wondering what the hell just grabbed him and what that flash of unsightly green was. XXXX. Naruto couldn't work out what was happening as she felt a pair of strong arms carry her through the streets at an unbelievable pace. Eventually the blur of shops and houses melted into the comforting green of trees and grass. Finally coming to a stop. Naruto sighed when the arms dropped her. Look, thanks for the help but I really didn't need it. She turned to face Rock Lee in his classic good guy pose, one eye closed, thumb extended beyond normal human capabilities and a highly offensive gleam from a smile far too wide assaulting the blonde's delicate eyes. Fuzzy brows. What the hell? The term didn't even register to the hype-active teen as he dropped his extended arm. Fear not, my lovely friend. While the flames of youth have long since extinguished in that poor soul's life, I have just saved you from such a fate. Naruto's sweat dropped. Lee. Please, it's me, Naruto. A twinkle of recognition sparked in his dark eye. Naruto. The blonde nodded. Why, I have a friend who is named exactly the same. You should perhaps meet him. It is not every day you find another person named after a noodle ingredient, much less a very pretty girl. Perhaps I might interest you in a walk to find him after lunch. I can assure you, his youthful flames burn brightly indeed. Naruto slapped a palm to her face. No, you jock, I meant I am. Wait, are you hitting on me? The instant blush on Lee's face, accompanied by the tip of his toe beginning to dig into the ground, sickened the girl beyond belief. Oh no, 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 you are not. Lee just giggled and magically produced a bunch of flowers from nowhere. Well, yes, I am actually. While my friend is extremely vigorous, there is no way for him to match my vitality. I thought that maybe such a appealing and energetic girl as yourself may be interested in accompanying me. Naruto began gagging violently as Lee mostly ignored/didn't understand her reactions. Taking a few steps back, Naruto held her hands out. No, 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 Lee, you need to realize, I am Naruto. This is just my auric no jutsu gone wrong. Please, you need to. Lee. Naruto tipped her head to the side in confusion as she noticed the spandex-clad youth looking at her in a very unusual way. Waving a hand in front of his face, Naruto tried to draw life from the now comatose boy. Lee. A small trickle of blood dribbled out of his nose. Casting a confused look at the boy, Naruto wondered what the hell just happened. It couldn't be a genjutsu, could it? Like, nothing happened, I don't think. A cool breeze around Naruto's lower area then alerted her to the problem. In that movement, the now far too baggy briefs had come loose once again and had dropped to her ankles. Screaming bloody murder, Naruto instinctively hiked her briefs up as high as her chest. The only problem with that was that the fabric only went so far, and as a result, she gave herself a massive atomic wedgie. The following shriek echoed around Konoha several times before fading. Thankfully, the noise was enough to snap Lee out of it. Looking down, he noticed the lovely girl curled up in a fetal position, eyes shut tightly in pain and her hands cradling something of vital importance between her legs. Instantly in valiant hero mode, the boy rushed to her side, checking for any injuries, asking if she's okay and just generally making a fuss. Lee stepped back as Naruto growled, an octave higher than she would have liked, mind you, and struggled to push herself up to her knees. She was a shade or two paler than before and looking severely irritated. Glancing up at her fellow ninja, she put a hand on one shaking knee and unsteadily pushed herself to her feet. Lee. Dude. Don't you have a crush on Sakura or something anyway? Just leave me alone and go torment her. Lee blushed again and began digging his toe hole again. While I do admit to having feelings for that wonderful woman, my magnificent instructor Guy-sensei said there is nothing wrong with asking other girls out while single. So I thought that you. And me. Naruto quickly cut him off before anything else could happen. She took a moment to tie her briefs up and pointed an accusing finger at him. Now look here. You cannot date me. I am the real Naruto, this is just my auric no jutsu gone all wrong. This is beyond wrong and I really don't think I'll ever look at you the same again. Lee started tearing up at the obvious rejection. Composing himself though, he raised an upturned fist in determination. You may say that now, my dear, but I will not fail you. I shall never give up my attempts to court such a wonderful girl. You will see. Sure, she was turning green. Naruto did the only thing she could think of. Kia. Pervert. You saw me without any briefs. How dare you? You should be punished. Instantly alert to the fact that he had indeed seen such a fine specimen half NDE, Lee took off screaming that he would run 200 laps around Konoha's borders on his thumbs as penalty. He did, however, have a seedy little grin on his face as he ran away thinking about one of the rare girls who forewent the need of panties. XXXX. Thoroughly fed up with the day already, Naruto traipsed into Ichiraku's for a well-deserved fix. She pushed aside the flap and was greeted by the pleasant voice of I am calling out, be there in a second. Taking her usual spot, Naruto dropped her head onto the bar top. Her spirits lifted when she heard Tsuchi call her name. They instantly dropped again when the man blushed and apologized. Oh, sorry there, miss. It's just that with your head down like that I thought you were one of our regular customers. He actually dresses exactly like you. Sighing, Naruto shook her head. No, it is me. This is just my DMN auric no jutsu gone bad. I do know why, but ever since this morning I just can't control it. The day has been absolute hell and it hasn't even started yet. Not quite understanding everything but simply accepting it as another bizarre quirk in his most prolific customer, Tsuchi dropped a bowl of ramen in front of the distressed girl. Well. Naruto. I can't say I fully understand that, but nevertheless, I cannot have my favorite customer unhappy. Here, the first one is on the house. Instantly, the world was brightened, the sweet chirping of birds reached her ears and all was right with the world as Naruto happily tucked into her free bowl of ramen. Neglecting her manners like usual, Naruto glanced up as Ayam walked out. The brunette took one look at the adorable blonde with noodles all over her face and squealed in delight. She's so cute. Barely controlling herself, Ayam sat with dazzling eyes and her hands clasped in front of her chest as she so desperately fought the urge to pick up the girl and cuddle her like a squeezed toy. Naruto noticed and looked across at Tsuchi. "Hey old man, what's up with Ayam? She's gone all squishy and stuff." Tsuchi just shook his head. "It's a girl thing. I don't understand it." Naruto's eyes thinned as she tried to make sense of Ayam's reaction to her form. Failing, the girl just shrugged and decided there were more important things to contemplate in the world, such as her free bowl of ramen before her. Slurping down another mouthful, she heard the tent flap get pushed back. Looking over her shoulder, she saw her favorite free meal ticket Iruka entering. Waving him over, the blushing Chunin took a seat beside her. Hello, I don't think I've seen you before, have I?" Naruto looked up at his teacher questioningly before she remembered what she still was. A she. Waving her hands in front of her face rapidly, Naruto swallowed a rather difficult mouthful before explaining. No, not you too, Iruka-sensei. It's me, Naruto. Just I've lost control of my auric no jutsu, so I'm currently stuck as a girl. Blushing again for a different reason, the now supremely embarrassed man started stuttering incoherently before just resorting to an intelligent, "What?" Naruto just turned back and started inhaling her next bowl. "You heard me. The whole morning has SCKED ball, and because of that, I'm taking a meal break." It took a moment, but his brain rebooted and he raised an eyebrow. "Really? Well, that will teach you to invent stupid jutsus." Naruto cast him a glance and SCKED up a stray noodle, ignoring Ayam's squeal of delight. "You say it's useless, and yet I took you down with it before I even became a genin. Explain that uselessness." Iruka blushed yet again and wondered if he was going to spend the day red-faced. "Okay, look. If it's acting up, that means something is shot with your chakra coils. Maybe if you used a chakra suppression seal you could pause the changes. At least until you worked out what's wrong." Naruto sighed at the idea. It was good, but it wouldn't work. "I wish. Only Ero Sennin can make one strong enough to hold back my amount of chakra, and he isn't due home for 3 days. Anything else lasts maybe 30 seconds before melting." Iruka looked at the blonde girl apologetically, kind of understanding the position she was in. Actually, not really, but he could pretend to. It was then Naruto stretched and Iruka had his attention drawn to another problem for the girl. Another 2 very sizable problems. Coughing, he discreetly looked away and waited until Naruto was done. "You know, Naruto, you really should probably get something to properly support yourself with." The blonde looked up at her teacher with questioning eyes. Iruka mentally slapped himself for saying that. "Well, just with you flicking between being a boy and a girl and all, you might want to look into something too. That better fits your. You know." He made a motion of cupping invisible melons. Naruto's eyes widened and looked down at her straining top. Liking her lips, she contemplated the idea. While she really didn't want to go and buy anything girly, it could maybe be a good excuse to stock up on her clothes since most of her stuff was in a bad state. Not to mention those bogus shops with the douchebag managers that sell the good stuff wouldn't recognize her. Nodding slowly, Naruto decided it was a good idea. "Okay, Iruka-sensei, thanks for the tip. I'll go right after I'm finished here." Seeing her teacher smile warmly, Naruto smiled back before tucking back into her cooling bowl. When Iruka got up and left, Naruto thought nothing of it until a familiar voice reached her ears. And not a good familiar either. Stiffly turning, she saw Iruka leading the gossip queen and general town busybody into the shop. Seeing the evil grin on Ino's face, Naruto's stomach dropped. And here she thought today couldn't SCK any harder. Chapter 3. Come on. No. I said, come on. No. Ino strained as hard as she could and found to her pleasant surprise that she was indeed winning the tug of war. But instead of a rope, she was holding the arm of her fellow blonde and part-time girl, Naruto. The said girl had her heels dug firmly into the dirt, but this only slowed the inevitable as Ino dragged her along, deep parallel groves following the two. Shaking the sweat out of her eyes, Ino gave another mighty pull. You do realize this would be a whole lot less painful if you just cooperated. Hell, you might even have fun. Naruto only dug her heels in deeper in a futile attempt to get away. Yeah, but maybe if you don't remember, I am a boy. I'm just stuck in this stupid girl body. An agitated tick mark appeared on Ino's forehead when she heard that. Summoning more strength than she remembered having, she heaved the girl up onto her shoulder and slapped her rump soundly. The resulting cry was a satisfying melody to Ino's ears. That's what you get for saying girls have stupid bodies. So if you don't want more of that, you'll just shut up and deal. Swearing profusely, Naruto struggled to escape from her uncomfortable perch on the now jogging Kunoichi's shoulder. She tried punching Ino's back, but that just resulted in a grunt of indigence and another, much harder slap to her tender behind. This had to happen several times before the pain convinced Naruto to stop. This didn't mean she had to enjoy it though, and it showed. It also meant a bunch of drooling boys were introduced to a variety of colorful words that they hadn't heard before as the pair jogged towards a very girly clothes store. XXXX. Come out. No. I said, come out. No. Placing her delicate fingers to her forehead, Ino could swear she had heard this before. In an amazing feat of endurance and strength, Ino had managed to not only get Naruto into the shop, but also into a changing room with some clothes that actually looked half decent. The only problem with that was that now she was in there, Ino could not for the life of her convince Naruto to come out. Patience wearing thin, she knocked hard on the door. I swear, you don't come out and I'll come in there and make you come out. Her answer was a cheerful click as the lock snapped shut. Okay, that sealed it. Growling, the girl stomped her foot thinking of a way to go about this. Quickly spying her advantages, she happily noticed the common change room door design. Pausing, Ino took a look around to make sure there weren't any nosy so-and-sos looking for a cheap thrill. Satisfied with the piece, Ino dropped down to her back and wriggled under the thin gap beneath the door. Unfortunately for Naruto, she didn't notice the triangle hand sign until too late. Shintenshin no Jutsu. Ino instantly went limp as an unfamiliar smirk replaced Naruto's previous look of abhorrent terror. Giggling, Naruto grabbed Ino's body and pulled her over to an observer's chair. Sitting herself up in a relatively comfortable position, she giggled and ran back into the changing room. A few silent minutes passed, the only noise being Ino's surprised exclamation, "Wow, Naruto-san has a knockout set of melons." Silence then resumed for a bit until a muffled scream of horror came from the change room. A second later, a very red-faced Naruto stomped out, heading straight for the underwear section, very clearly mumbling, "Who the hell in their right mind goes commando during the day?" In Naruto's defense, the poor boy, at the time, had found that when wearing his usual briefs, every time he swapped genders, his undies dropped uncomfortably around his knees inside his briefs, and as such he couldn't hoist them back up into place without looking like he was doing something very socially unacceptable. But Ino knew nothing of this, and so it just meant more information, i.e. blackmail for later. So, finally, after finding an acceptable pair of lace panties, the girl quickly paid for the garment and ran back into the room. The changing process was now a lot faster that everything was there, and barely a minute later, Naruto sauntered out to face a look in the mirror. Her mouth dropped to an astounded "oh" when Ino realized just how much potential Naruto's female form had. The baby blue button-up top hugged her figure beautifully, and the matching, slightly darker blue ankle-length skirt sat perfectly atop her hip bones, accentuating Naruto's womanliness. Ino paused for a moment. Now that was probably the weirdest thing she had ever thought in her entire life. Naruto, sissy. Naruto, womanly. Reaching a verdict though, she just shrugged her shoulders in indifference and adopted a very sissy stance. Blowing a kiss into the mirror, she winked at herself before canceling the technique. Instantly alert, Ino quickly sat up and tried vainly to rub the KNK out of her neck as she watched Naruto come around. She grinned as Naruto's wits slowly came back to her. Looking into the mirror and seeing what position that strangely familiar girl was in, dread washed over Naruto in waves. An ear-piercing screech echoed through the shop as in a blur, Naruto disappeared back into the change room. A second gasp of disbelief followed when she found none of her clothes remained in the booth. Hearing her demonic tormentor outside laughing gleefully, Naruto had to actively suppress the rising need to cry. "Damn it, Ino, where are my clothes?" Ino struggled to catch her breath and wiped a tear away. "Oh come on Naruto-chan. You have a smashing figure. I'm actually a bit jealous truthfully. Do you really want to hide that beauty from the world?" It was then that Naruto let out a pathetic whimper from inside the booth. That sprung a small stab of guilt within the girl as she realized that maybe Naruto had had enough. Sighing, Ino stood up. Okay, fine. Just wait a second. I'll grab your clothes." Not taking more than 2 steps, it was then that a loud poof went off and a smoky mist drifted out from the change room. There was a gasp of breath and the distinct sound of fabric ripping as a much more manly voice called out in supreme urgency, "Ino! Ino! Please hurry up with those clothes." Eyes widening, Ino quickly grabbed the hidden atrocities and was about to throw them over when the door opened briefly and an arm snatched the clothes from her hand. Blinking twice, it was now Ino's turn to shriek when she realized she had just seen Naruto fully NDE, save for a small scrap of that dress covering what was left of his modesty and the fully stretched bra across his chest. Covering her eyes in horror, she didn't notice the attendant walking across, looking very confused and a tad suspicious at all the noise. "Miss? Are you okay? I heard a fair amount of shouting and was just wondering what's going on." Ino waved a hand nonchalantly in the clerk's direction. No, we're okay. It's just my friend was having some problems with her dresses." "Oh, what friend would that be?" Looking up through her fingers, Ino noticed that the room Naruto previously occupied was now dubiously bare. Instantly alert, Ino looked around, trying to find where her rogue dress-up game had gotten to. Seeing a flash of orange disappear out the front door, Ino growled dangerously and made to follow when she was stalled by a spike of killer intent and a very unsatisfied grunt. "Oh. Seeming your friend isn't here, I assume you'll be the one paying for these clothes today." Turning stiffly, she saw the very displeased clerk standing in the change room, arms crossed and foot tapping. Ino could see why too, because had looked like an outfit bomb had been triggered in there as it had bits of clothing everywhere. Ino started stammering and attempting to explain but slowly fell silent under the disapproving glare she was receiving. Dropping her head in defeat, Ino fished around in her skirt pockets for her wallet. XXXX. Naruto was running as fast and as far as he could manage from that torture chamber. After that experience, he was certain that the world held nothing left to fear. He did get a small amount of satisfaction from knowing he deserted that evil blonde witch with the clothes bill. Rounding a corner, Naruto had to unleash a powerful display of agility as he twisted around a shocked girl, stunned into place by his arrival. Quickly checking himself to make sure nothing dislocated from that epic piece of mastery, he turned to face the person. "Hey, look, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't mean to." "Hinata-chan." There standing before him was the heir to the Hyuga clan and overall strange and weird dark girl, Hinata. He noticed she was pushing her fingers together rapidly and her face was blossoming into a healthy shade of red. Dropping the hand from behind his head, his eyes thinned as he leaned in. "Hinata, are you okay? You've gone all red again. Have you got some kind of disease or cancer or something? 'Cause seriously, every time I see you you're burning up." The shy girl's eyes widened as she waved her hands in front of herself. "No Naruto-kun, it's nothing like that." Placing a hand on her forehead, Naruto cupped his chin with his other hand and shook his head wonderingly. "Well, what is it then?" 'Cause seriously, you are so hot. Instantly taking things the wrong way, Hinata felt her treacherous legs begin to give out under her. I'll be okay, ss seriously. I am not all that hot. Naruto shook his head. Nah, you totally are. See? In an act of total social retardation, he pressed his cheek up against Hinata's in an attempt to show her the error in her judgment. See? I could pretty much fry an egg on your face at the moment. Oh no, wait, Hinata-chan. It proved too much for the girl as her mind misinterpreted it as, see? I could pretty much SCK face with you the moment, and she lapsed into unconsciousness, beet red with a small trickle of blood running down her lip. XXXX. Groaning unhappily to herself, Hinata sighed. She had been having the most wonderful dream that her and Naruto-kun had been dancing through fields of flowers. For some strange reason though, an unexpected rainfall helped kickstart the dream into something a bit steamier in which Naruto sent her a wink and began stripping. It was then she started to wake up and no amount of mental kicking and screaming could stop the image from fading. Pulling herself upright, she turned to see that she was beside a freshwater lake. And in that freshwater lake, was a topless Naruto-kun splashing in the shallows. Rubbing her eyes, Hinata made sure she wasn't seeing an illusion. This can't be real. Discreetly activating Byakugan, she saw the telltale sign of a chakra pathway coursing within the boy. Yup, it's real. She noted with interest that when the water splashed down his body, it really helped her eyes trace his muscles move beneath his skin. Okay, this is the single greatest moment of my life. Sighing, her look turned dreamy as she watched the boy play in the water. So appealing. It was then that Naruto turned around from his swimming and saw a slightly wet Hinata, probably from one of his more vigorous splashes. Lifting an arm, he waved at her. Yo! Hinata-chan. It's good to see you're awake. And look, you aren't even red anymore. Did you want to come in for a swim? I do know if you have any clothes for it though. The last sentence of Naruto's dialogue held absolutely no significance in Hinata's short life whatsoever as she replayed possibly the greatest thing she had ever heard over and over again in her head. Naruto asked me to come swimming. Me? Now. But in what? I don't have anything. Comical tears began streaming down her cheeks when she realized the fact. Steeling herself though, she took a breath. Emma, maybe I could just take my jacket and pee breathes off. I have a shirt and T training breathes underneath. That couldn't be bad. Naruto slightly lowered his arm when he saw Hinata's face start glowing again. Sighing, he started to make his way up to her when he felt a familiar tingle in his tummy. OSH dash. Bamf. Naruto paused in shock, as did Hinata. Naruto's eyes met Hinata's. Hinata's eyes met Naruto's. Naruto's eyes stayed on Hinata's. Hinata's eyes stayed on Naruto's. Naruto's eyes pleaded no with Hinata's. Hinata's eyes met Naruto's chest. And the girl's nose promptly exploded, coating the ground in a thick layer of blood before passing out, totally unresponsive to Naruto's scream of terror. Chapter 4. Hinata slowly came to from one of the weirdest and yet loveliest dreams in her life. She had just been ogling her long-time crush turned love splashing majestically in a lake, and then the boy had asked her to come for a swim. It was then the dreams took a strange turn and for some reason Naruto had swapped genders and become the exact copy of Naruto in a female form, i.e. crazy hot. It was disturbing to think she thought a girl was hot but then. It was Naruto. Even if he was now a she. So everything the girl loved about him was still there. Well. Not everything she supposed, but it was the personality that made the person in Hinata's eyes. Besides, it's not like Naruto would actually do that to her and above all, it had just been a messed up dream. Sighing happily to herself, she opened her eyes to find herself at that exact location in her dream. Looking around, she saw Naruto sitting a bit away grumbling to himself as he struggled to his vest on for some reason. That was a dream, wasn't it? Taking a mighty breath of courage, Hinata reached out and tapped the boy on his shoulder. Her hand instantly recoiled like she had been shot, but nevertheless chalked up a silent victory in Hinata's Moves In on Naruto book. As her crush turned, she couldn't help but look away and blush yet again. I am sorry. I shouldn't have made such a forward move seeming we're not really friends or anything so. Hinata-chan, what are you talking about? Of course we're friends. And as friends, I know this will sound weird but can you help me with this? Huh? Hinata's blood ran a tad colder as she realized that the voice, while still distinctly Naruto's, was now a few notes higher and more girly. Taking another breath, she started to look up. It's just a dream, it's just a dream, it's just a dream, it's... Her thoughts trailed off when a voluptuous cleavage and gorgeous face came into her field of vision. Not a dream. Naruto pet her head to one side. For some reason Hinata had totally spaced out after making eye contact with her chest and face. Naruto looked down at herself, then at Hinata. For the life of her, she could not work out what zombified the girl. Surely it couldn't have been the melons. While Naruto was no ladies' man, she knew a good set of melons when she saw them and Hinata had them in abundance. So the best the blondie could do was assume it was the shock of seeing her as a girl. A small part of her brain said that then the melons were directly related to the problem, but that was ignored. Rationality had never been Naruto's strong point. No reason to start overthinking things now. Snapping her long fingers in front of Hinata, she finally roused the girl. Hinata then took one look at Naruto, screamed, and then passed out. Naruto sighed petulantly. This was almost more trouble than it was worth. The only thing that kept her at it was that Hinata was really the only normal girl she knew, and that was saying a lot. Grabbing Hinata and lifting her up into a sitting position, Naruto took a breath. Hinata! Wake up! The shrill noise accompanied by the violent shaking of her shoulders brought the girl around in an instant. Not even checking to see what happened, Hinata jumped back 5 steps and began apologizing profusely and bowing repeatedly in several directions. Naruto didn't know what any of that was about and she had a fair idea, neither did Hinata. Waiting for the moment to finish, Naruto raised a hand and quickly started talking. Okay, Hinata, you are awesome and all, but seriously you faint one more time and I'm not gonna ask your help anymore. The world crashed hard upon the Hyuga's shoulders as she desperately tried to salvage the situation. I am sorry Naruto-kun, it's just that. Well. Desperately trying to avoid having to tell Naruto about her crush, especially while he was a she, Hinata started mumbling incoherently to herself and doing her finger pokey thing. Naruto on the other hand just slapped a frustrated hand to her face and sighed. At least she didn't pass out, I guess. Standing, Naruto walked over and grabbed the girl's hands. She instantly started going woozy. Remember what I said. Hinata slowly nodded and sat down, desperately willing her spinning head to go away. Taking several deep breaths, the yucky feeling lifted enough for her to begin normal thought processes again. I am okay now, Naruto-kun. So what was it you needed help with? It was now Naruto's turn to blush and made sure not to make eye contact with the girl at her feet. Well. You see, seeming I got melons now and all. I'm having so much trouble getting into my jacket now and I was wondering if maybe you could help me with that. Absent-mindedly wiping another small dribble of blood away from her nose, Hinata closed her eyes and mentally calmed herself. Okay, this is no different than helping Hanabi out. It will just be a simple matter of tucking things in and making sure no skin gets caught in the zip. Easy enough. Right, I am ready. Opening her eyes, she stood back up and gingerly reached out. Oh okay and Naruto-kun, I'll slowly pull the zip up and you just tuck your boo. Your Brea. Why yourself away so you don't catch any skin. Steeling herself with a resolve unlike anything before, Hinata began pulling the zip up, trying so desperately not to dwell on Naruto trying, with little result, to push her melons back under her top. Getting about halfway up, Naruto unleashed her trademark grin and looked up into Hinata's eyes. Yes. It's working. Thanks so much for this, Hinata-chan. You're the best. Blushing from the praise, Hinata just struggled to stay focused on the task at hand and get it finished with. 3/4 of the way up though, and an unearthly howl in the background made both girls jump several feet off the ground in fright. It had seemed that Kiba and Akamaru had decided to go for a swim after training and had happily stumbled across something neither human, nor dog, had ever thought they would see. And upon seeing such a sight, Kiba had been unable to contain his whoop in delight before collapsing to the ground with swirly eyes. The image of Hinata and some unknown girl doing something CC burned into his memory. Days later, Kiba even questioned if he had momentarily activated the Sharingan as he recalled everything so well. Thoroughly jumpy after the fright, both girls were breathing deeply. Normally that wouldn't have been a problem, but the stress from that on a jacket not meant for such assets proved too much for the fabric. In a horrific tearing noise, Hinata was brained by a flying zip. Turning to face her attacker, she noticed Naruto looking down in despair. At that moment, two very different things were said. My favorite jacket. Naruto's melons. It took no super genius to work out which comment made the girls look up sharply, both blushing. Hinata-chan. What was that? Dismayed at being discovered, Hinata thought to herself, to hell with restraint. He found out. Why not? And promptly dropped her gaze to Naruto's chest. XXXX. Naruto was down in the lake again, surrounded by a red tint in the water and grumbling darkly. It had seemed that when Hinata had copped her second eyeful for the day, she had had the same reaction as the first time and as a result, coated Naruto's chest in a lovely shiny crimson. Quite disgusted, Naruto had run screaming down into the water to clean herself off. Thankfully though, halfway there she reverted to being a he. It was just as well too, 'cause Naruto nearly tripped several times on his confounded breaths as he made his mad dash down to the water. Sighing when he finally finished wiping everything away, he turned to look up at the cause of his latest problems. He couldn't fault the girl on her want to help him. It was just that she was just so weird. And her strange disposition to becoming an explosive blood cannon made things difficult, not to mention messy. Sighing again, Naruto began trudging up out of the water. Yeah, he had said he would leave if she passed out again, but then, that was before Naruto lost his shirt to a melons-related accident. Now he couldn't really go anywhere, lest he became a she again and flashed everyone within seeing distance his lovelies. Glancing at Hinata, she was now actually a rather sickly pale. Naruto rolled his eyes, knowing she wouldn't be up for a while till her blood count rose. So with nothing to do he sat. Yawning, Naruto stretched and looked around sleepily. Grabbing his ruined top, he pulled it on and wrapped the front of it around his chest as best he could without the zipper. The last thing he thought of before he dozed off was that Hinata was easily the biggest closet pervert in all of Konoha. XXXX. Something poked Naruto in the side. Normally that wouldn't be enough to disturb his sleep, but when it happened repeatedly, even he was forced to come around. Groggily opening his eyes, he came face to face with Hinata. The girl instantly squeaked in surprise and jumped back. Ignoring her apology, Naruto stretched happily, his muscles happily being pulled into limber. He felt an incredibly satisfying pop in his hip and shivered in contentment. Scratching his head, he sat up and yawned. Hinata-chan. Good, you're awake now. How long have I been out? The girl looked up at the sky and squinted. Perhaps an hour, Naruto-kun. And not too long. Running his tongue around the inside of his teeth, he made a face at the horrid flavor. Yuck. My mouth tastes like the bottom of a birdcage. Taking a quick look down, he was also very happy to notice that he was still male. Crossing his legs under himself, he looked up at the girl. That's not too bad then. Anyway, I have a favor. Instantly alert to the desires of her love, Hinata's eyes twinkled happily. Why yes, Naruto-kun. Naruto made her take notice of his ruined jacket. Okay, well I can't really go anywhere at the moment cause if I did and turned into a girl like this. Well, that little blood bath you gave me would be the least of my problems. Hinata instantly blushed in embarrassment as she remembered. Sorry. Naruto just waved a hand on her direction. Nah, don't worry about it Hinata-chan. Though you would have been the last girl I'd have expected to like other girls. Hinata's blush increased tenfold. For the first time in her life, Hinata unleashed a mighty shout of protest. It's not like that Naruto-kun. Pressed hard up against the tree he had been leaning against, Naruto took a moment to clear the ringing from his ears. Shaking his head, he looked at the girl who had clamped her eyes shut tight, her beet-red face covered by her equally beet-red hands. Wriggling a finger in his ear, Naruto pulled out a bit of earwax. Okay, I just thought it was, seeming you coated me in blood and boogers when you saw my melons. Seeing the mortified girl ready another ear-numbing scream, he held his hands up. Okay, I get it. You don't like girls. Sweet. Now, on to that favor I asked. Hinata didn't trust her voice and just nodded through her hands. Okay, well, seeming I can't really go anywhere, I was just wondering if you could maybe run back to your place and grab a spare shirt for me to wear until I get back home. Thankful for a chance to escape, the humiliated girl just nodded before turning and running off as fast as her legs could take her. Watching her escape, Naruto chuckled to himself despite having a strange feeling about Hinata's strange mood swings around him. Swinging an arm around, Naruto stood up and began to get ready to go for another swim when a rustle in the bushes behind him put him on guard. Ready for combat, what he did not expect was to see Kiba blast through the bushes, his keen senses desperately trying to pick up something. Lowering his guard, Naruto called to him. Oi! What you doing? It was then Kiba noticed him. His eyes widened and he started flapping his arms around. Dude! Please! You have to tell me if Hinata and some other chick was just here. I swear I just saw the most amazing thing of my life but passed out due to the awesomeness. Naruto paused for a second. Yeah, Hinata was here but another chick. Nah, sorry Kiba, Hinata and me were here but no other chick. Kiba's eyes dropped slightly as he looked down at his little companion. Hey Akamaru, can you tell anything? The tiny dog sniffed around a bit before letting out a few high-pitched yips. It translated roughly to, yeah, Hinata Biped was here as well as Stranger Biped. I can't tell what happened to Stranger Biped but she just changed. That was all Kiba needed to hear and simply dropped to his hands and knees, his acutely sensitive nose going into overdrive to try and decipher this eye-catching mystery. Naruto meanwhile, just went back to the lake and dived in and began splashing happily with himself. The both of them stayed like that for a bit until Naruto got tired of watching his hairy friend act even more doggy than usual. Grinning evilly, he crossed his fingers and created 10 clones. They instantly huddled up close and in one movement, 22 sets of hands heaved a giant wave up at the boy. Kiba's eyes widened just enough to say, OCRP, before he was flattened by the volume of water. Coughing and spluttering, Kiba spat water violently all over the place before raising himself up onto his hands and feet and having a furious shake before standing up. He eyed the guffawing blonde with hatred and threw a rock at a Naruto. Unfortunately for Kiba, it just popped from existence but nevertheless, it got the attention of the real Naruto. Damn it Naruto, what the hell did you do that for? I just lost the scent of that girl. URETD. Naruto just laughed harder, which in turn further infuriated the Inuza. Snarling, he charged Naruto, intent on maiming him badly for the loss he just caused. Jumping high, he raised a hand when Naruto, all of him, stopped laughing and took a collectively massive gasp. No. Chapter 5. Kiba was dreaming. Such a thing was not possible. Nope, not even possibly possible. Hell, even that other dream he sometimes had of Sakura and Ino was more possible. So why was it all so soft? Backing up a few seconds, Kiba was flying through the air with the intent of murdering his fellow genin. For some reason though, Naruto, and all his clones, had gasped and then changed. Totally blowing his concentration, Kiba lost his control of his flight and plowed headlong into the blondes in a chorus of girlish screams. The impact had caused a total tangling of limbs and other bits that both parties couldn't identify. Finally coming to rest, Kiba found himself lying in amongst a pile of miming and squirming softness. Wondering what all those pained groans were, he tried to move but found he was caught in a very awkward position. To put it simply, he was stuck. Trying to gain a hold of anything, he squeezed a bump under his hand and to his befuddlement found to find it. Elected. Another, even more girly and high-pitched scream. Opening his eyes owlishly, he turned his head to find himself face to face with his missing girl. Or to be more precise, multiple girls. That was when he deduced he was dreaming. Because Naruto had not just changed into that girl and he was not currently lying on a whole lot of female Narutos. A whole lot of topless, soft, sissy, tangled and drenched Narutos. Kiba decided to have another quick squeeze just to check if it was real. He got another squeal. Maybe one more. Another squeal. And this time, a whack to his head. Dude, cut that out. That feels super weird, not to mention UGRPNG me is creepy. He felt the body mass under him heave and finding purchase, dragged himself out of the mound amidst another few squawks. Tumbling into the water, Kiba quickly wiped the water from his eyes and looked back at where he came from. A hint of drool followed. XXXX. Naruto struggled to pull herself free of her annoying clones. While they were a blessing in battle, right now their solid form was the worst thing ever. They had even pinned her arms down so she couldn't cancel the DMN things. Growling, she channeled chakra into her arms and began throwing clones left, right and center. Finally digging her way out, she stood breathing for a few moments till her eyes rested on Kiba. She slapped a hand to her head seeing the brain-dead look on his face. That boy would never let her live this down. Canceling the remaining clones, Naruto was hit with the unpleasant feeling of her melons being squeezed. Quickly covering the assaulted item, Naruto stalked over to Kiba. Before she buried the boy's head into the sand, Naruto blushed as she heard, "Best dream ever." Stomping/sloshing her way away from a struggling Kiba, Naruto made a beeline for her jacket. Broken or not, that thing would provide protection from roaming eyes. Slinging it on backwards, she sat down in a huff and waited for Kiba to release himself. A small yip to her left made Naruto look down. Akamaru was looking up at the blonde and then back at a still struggling Kiba. Nah, he's totally getting out of it himself. He deserved that. Akamaru whined pitifully and ran down to the water's edge. The dog needn't have worried though, as in a pop and splash, Kiba shot out of the water, gasping desperately for air. Damn it, Naruto. What the hell? I could have drowned. Well, you deserved it. Huh. Looking up, he saw the whiskered blonde glaring at him. A pervy look oozed its way back onto his face. So. That wasn't a dream, huh? Naruto just flipped him the bird. Closest you'll probably ever get to the real thing anyway. Despite the memories, Kiba bristled. Oh, you little prick. I'm surprised you even know what a naked chick's body looks like. Besides, at least I can tell when a chick likes me. Naruto just sniffed. RPE doesn't count, Kiba. Kiba growled and went to attack but paused. A sly grin spread across his face. I wanna beat you down so hard right now, but I'd feel bad about hitting a girl. Naruto looked down at him indignantly. Please, you couldn't hit me if you tried. Kiba shrugged. Results always proved otherwise, dead last. Woohoo. Naruto stalked up to the snickering boy and jabbed a finger in his chest. You couldn't hit the broad side of Choji. And don't say you can, cause everyone remembers that day in academy. Slapping the hand away, Kiba grabbed Naruto by the jacket and lifted her clear off the ground, bringing the two raging teens nose to nose. You wanna test if my aim's improved from then? Naruto just raised an eyebrow. I thought you wouldn't hit a girl. Kiba raised a fist. A henge doesn't make you a girl any more than standing in the head office makes you Hokage. That's it. Grabbing the boy by the neck, Naruto pulled Kiba to the ground and the two began a furious wrestling match. Biting, scratching, punching and kicking from both members of the fight quickly began drawing flecks of blood from the two. Neither noticed though, each so intent on causing the other harm. Had Iruka been watching, he would have been totally devastated at the lack of fighting form. Anyway, after a particularly heavy hit, Naruto was sent flying back and they both collapsed breathing. They both lay there for a bit until they started laughing. Man, who would have guessed you were the mystery girl? Totally gross, but still awesome. What the hell were you and Hinata doing anyways? Naruto pulled herself up and sighed. Well, I can't control my auric no jutsu at the moment, so I had another moment like this and I was getting Hinata to help me with it cause melons don't fit so good into my top. Kiba looked up dreamily into the sky. Really now? That's pretty cool. If only you had been a real girl though. Naruto looked at him indignantly. What you talking about? I thought I got my henge perfect. Kiba threw her a sidelong glance. Yeah, I never said you got it wrong. It's just, you're a dude and always will be. No matter what kind of body you manage to create, you'll always be the same Naruto. Naruto nodded slowly. I suppose so. Still, it's a pretty nifty distraction. Kiba nodded with a dirty smile. Yeah. Naruto scratched her arm and looked off in the direction Hinata ran. Still, I never thought it would work on a kunoichi. Kiba's ears perked and he quickly rounded on Naruto. Say what? Please, explain. Naruto gave him a sus look. You're just gonna go spank something I'd rather not think about if I do tell you. Kiba used a considerable amount of energy to control himself. Nah, maybe any other time, but you're a dude and I actually know you. Gay, no matter how you look at it. Naruto considered it for a second. Well, if that's the case you don't need to hear it. Kiba visibly deflated. DMN. While not usually too observant, even Naruto noticed this and silently thanked his gut feeling for staying quiet. The result could have been grossly scarring. Quickly changing the subject, Naruto ended further discussion. I wonder what Hinata is doing. Her house is just around the corner from here. All I wanted was a shirt. Kiba lay back. Who knows? She might be trying to sneak it past her dad or something. You never know in that house. Naruto nodded. He then noticed movement and turned to face the newcomer. At first she thought it was Hinata, but the long hair and clam face quickly changed her mind. Raising an eyebrow, Naruto looked up at the Hyuga prodigy. Yo Niji. What brings you here? The boy held his arm out with a smirk. Hinata-sama requested that I deliver her shirt to you as her father called her aside for something. Kiba looked up at the proud boy. Looking back at Naruto, Kiba shook his head. Surely it didn't go that smoothly. You weren't interested in why Hinata wanted to give Naruto one of her shirts. Niji glanced over at the scruffy Inuzuka. Yes, I immediately inquired why, but she simply said I would understand when I found him. Her. The prodigy chuckled. Quite the predicament, Naruto. So what are you exactly? A boy or girl? Naruto shrugged. I do know. I tried really hard to make this transformation perfect, but I've never seen a girl's inside, so I just tried to make the outside as girl as I could. Niji raised an eyebrow. Didn't you pay attention in anatomy? Naruto looked up curiously. What's that? Kiba gave her a strange look. Did you manage to sleep through a whole semester? It's like a glorified SEC Ed class on human bodies. Naruto crossed her arms and began thinking. Section yeah, I heard about that. You make babies. With SEC hey. Niji and Kiba shared a look. You seriously don't know what a CC is? Naruto looked up angrily. The two ninja couldn't help but notice the innocent look in their friend's eye though. Yeah, I do. You make babies with it. The pair cast a sidelong look at each other. Kiba shook his head. Nah. This is one thing I refuse to talk with him about. Niji sighed. How could she have such limited knowledge on that topic? It was a big part of being a ninja, as who knows what could happen out on the field. Activating the Byakugan, Niji had a look at Naruto. Normally he was abjectly against using the Byakugan to look beneath clothing, but in this case, Naruto needed help and a quick look would be enough to establish her knowledge on the subject. Naruto reacted as he expected and shrieked. Stop looking, you perv. Kiba slapped his hands against his ears and let out a whimper. Naruto, please. Your voice is even more shrill being a girl. Quiet down. Naruto huffed and crossed her arms over her chest. She relaxed a bit when Niji deactivated Byakugan. I wouldn't have to if Niji didn't want to slip a peek at me. Niji sighed at the loud blonde. Honestly, Naruto. It's against my principles to simply look under people's clothes for my own satisfaction. I was looking at you to see exactly how much you know. Physically you have the girl thing down pat. If I didn't have these eyes, I would have been fooled. Kiba looked across at Naruto with a hint of jealousy. Dude. Have you actually ever seen a chick naked? Naruto shook her head. Nah, don't think so. But with two senseis that are the biggest and boldest perverts in all of Konoha, it's kinda hard not to know what a naked chick looks like. Niji nodded in understanding. So that's how you got it so perfect. Understandable. As for the insides though. Naruto, you said you know SEC makes babies. Can you tell me what it is exactly and where the babies come from? Naruto narrowed her eyes and began thinking deeply. Right. SEC makes babies and so the babies come from somewhere. The stork brings the babies, so there must be a production plant somewhere that makes them to give to the parents. Seeming the stork is the messenger, it must also be like a postman or something, so SEC must be the currency used to pay for the new baby. Naruto looked up in glee at the revelation. Wow, I never thought I'd work something like that out. Thanks Niji. Both Niji and Kiba had blank looks on their faces as they struggled to comprehend what they had just heard. You're being serious, hey Naruto. Naruto nodded. Yup. Kiba looked up at Niji. Statement from before holds true. Oblivious to their surprise, Naruto started grabbing at the air. Hey Niji, can I have that shirt now? Niji looked over at the blonde girl and shook his head. He tossed the happy girl his cousin's shirt and turned his back to the stripping blonde. This is going to scar. Okay Naruto, this is the real way babies are made. Chapter 6. Naruto sat with his lips pursed slightly. During their talk he had startled everyone when he swapped back into boy mode. Nevertheless, the talk continued, leaving Naruto with a lot to think about. Hinata had returned mid-CC Ed and had promptly passed out by a tree. The group had ignored her as it had been a common occurrence in Academy for some reason. Anyway, now Niji and Kiba were watching carefully as Naruto mulled over the information. Niji was the first to speak, carefully choosing his words as who knew how the boy would approach such an uncomfortable topic. So, Naruto. Any thoughts on this? Naruto twitched slightly and looked up at him. He pointedly made an effort not to look at Hinata. So. Babies are actually grown in women, hey? The two teens nodded. And to get there, a guy needs to stick his thing in there. He made a motion of poking his index finger through the hole created by his other hand as the thumb and forefinger came together. Again, the duo nodded. That means your parents had to do that to make you, hey? Both Neji and Kiba turned a bit green but nodded. Noon in their right mind really wanted to think of that. But for Naruto. Nope. Not even then. Naruto then pointed at Hinata. So she has the cave where babies hide, yeah? Neji and Kiba had found quite early on into the description of things that Naruto had absolutely no concept of the internals of women. As such, they had tried comparing various anatomical elements to natural counterparts. Unfortunately, that plan backfired and now Naruto was stuck with a very different view of things in his head. No, Naruto, it's not a cave, it's a womb. And babies don't hide there, they grow there. Naruto's eyes lit up. Oh, so like a fungus? Kiba smacked his head into the nearest tree and Neji seriously felt like giving up and running home to his bedroom. Unfortunately though, his Hyuga pride didn't let him. Not quite Naruto, but almost. The baby grows in the womb via the umbilical cord. Remember how we spoke of that? Naruto nodded slowly. Ha. That's the leech attached to the belly button and cave wall, yeah. I still don't get how it feeds its host. Neji cut him off. No, the umbilical cord is a part of the baby. That's how the baby feeds. But the mouth. It doesn't eat through the mouth. Nope. Think of it like a drip into your arm, just in the middle of your tummy. Naruto looked at him questioningly. So. No ramen. Neji shook his head. No. No ramen. Tears began welling up in Naruto's eyes and Neji slapped a palm to his face. I believe we may have done more damage than good, Kiba. Kiba rolled his eyes. You did all the explaining and thinking. When you suggested we use metaphors, I just threw out ideas. It's all on you. Looking back down at the distraught boy, Kiba sighed and walked over to him. Grabbing his arms, he picked Naruto up and placed him on his feet. Brushing down his jacket and breathes, Kiba then looked at Naruto, eye to eye. Okay, big guy, you've had a big day, haven't you? Naruto nodded unhappily. Well, how about you just trot on home and forget all about this, yeah? I'm sure there's a nice packet of instant ramen you can drown your sorrows in. Sniffing and wiping an eye, Naruto nodded and began walking home. Who could live without ramen for so long? Kiba sighed and looked back at Neji. Both boys just shook their heads and sighed. Well, it's unfortunate that it turned out the way it did, but I'd had enough. Thanks for sending him off, Kiba. The Inuzuka scratched the back of his head as he looked off in the direction Naruto wandered. You're telling me. I didn't even hardly say anything and I feel worn out. But one thing I'm so happy about is that we didn't get around to explaining that time of the month to him. Seriously, even I'm still struggling to understand how something can bleed for a full week and survive. Neji pet an eyebrow at him and smirked. I dare you to ask your sister. I'm sure she could explain. She is a vet after all. Kiba shuddered and shook himself at the thought. Dude, she is my sister. Do you have any understanding of how bad and just plain weird that would be? That's nearly as bad as thinking about what Naruto made us think before. Neji looked across confused. What was that again? Kiba blanched and shook his head. Nah, I am not repeating that. Neji shrugged and turned back to watch Naruto wander off. After talking with Naruto, I suppose it's best I don't. Who knows what he could have said? He could have even mentioned. Neji turned a tad green. Bother. Kiba snickered. Yeah, you. Remembered. Neji. Swallowed and calmed himself before speaking. Right. Well, it's starting to get late, so I think I'll head home. I've had quite enough of today, thank you very much. Kiba yawned and nodded. Yeah, true that. I'll take one last dip and head back home. Come on, Akamaru. Niji watched on then as Kiba jumped in fully clothed and started splashing around. Feeling Niji's eyes on him, he turned back around. An unspoken question passed between them, although it took Kiba a few seconds before he received the transmission. Oh, clothes? Yeah, I do this and that way I don't have to wash them for tomorrow. Niji's nose twitched and the Hyuga promptly began walking away. Goodbye, Kiba. XXXX. Tenten was skipping back from her training grounds with a large smile on her face. The day had been exceptionally successful, with her achieving a new personal best on most kunai deflected in one throw. Humming happily to herself, she continued to bounce along until a shock of blonde made her look over. She saw Naruto wandering along, dragging his feet and just in general looking very sullen. Ever the compassionate Kunoichi, she quickly made a beeline for the depressed ninja. Hey Naruto, what's up? Naruto looked over at the vibrant girl and sighed. Even her infectious personality was doing nothing for him. Oh, hey Tenten. Yeah, I'm okay I guess. Just had an off day. Tenten raised a fine eyebrow. Really? Must have been a doozy, 'cause I don't think I've ever seen you this down. Wanna talk? Naruto looked at her carefree face and sighed. Spotting a bench a few feet away, he traipsed over to it. Taking a seat, he dropped his chin in his hands and sighed again. Tenten slid in beside him, silently waiting for him to begin. Well, you see, it all started this morning when I lost control of my auric no jutsu for some reason. Tenten frowned. What's that? Can't say I've ever heard of that. Naruto rolled his eyes. Of course not. I go and put all this effort into creating an amazing diversionary jutsu and everyone tells me it's stupid and that I shouldn't do it ever again. Not to mention Sakura-chan always beats me up for it. Always the sucker for new jutsu, Tenten leaned in. Oh. How does it work? Naruto looked up, kind of surprised anyone actually wanted to listen to him. Well. It changes me into a girl that I use to distract guys. Like, I've beaten Ebisu-sensei, Irika-sensei, Ero-senin and Sarutobi-jiji all with it. Like, they get knocked out for a few seconds but then all that happens is I get called a pervert and smacked. Naruto huffed and looked away, a pout on his lips. What he didn't see though were the masses of sparkles in Tenten's eyes and joyous hands cupped under her chin. You beat all those amazing ninja with this technique? Naruto had to smooth his hair back into place and clean an ear after the loud shockwave near knocked him off the chair. Looking back up at the girl, he raised an eyebrow. Yeah. Anyone who even has a tiny bit of perversion in them is affected. If Tenten's eyes were sparkling before, they were now positively glowing. Her mouth opened into a massive smile as she latched onto his arm. That is so cool. Please, please, please show me. You seriously want to see this thing? Tenten nodded vigorously. Yes. Anyone who can beat a Hokage in one move has got to be one of the most talented ninja ever. Naruto felt his head begin to swell. It felt good. Well, it is pretty awesome. Tenten nodded. Yup. Though I'm guessing the problem has something to do with the change process, yeah? Naruto looked up in surprise. Yeah. How did you know? Tenten giggled into her hand. Well, there's gotta be a reason you're wearing Hinata-chan's shirt. Naruto blushed and pulled his jacket together. Yeah. I guess. He then had to back up as Tenten's head got uncomfortably close to his chest. So what's the problem, huh? You stuck with melons in guy form or something? Naruto quickly imagined the consequences of that and shuddered. That would have been horrendous. Wrapping the jacket around himself tighter, he shook his head. Hell no. Thankfully, hell no. What it is I can't control where it activates. Like, this whole day has just been me swapping from boy to boy at the worst times ever. Tenten nodded understandingly. Then Tsunade-bachan goes and tells me I can't train while it's happening, and then, to top it off, I found out babies go without ramen for at least the first year of their life. Tenten didn't really know how to take that last bit, so sensibly avoided it. She could, however, totally relate to Naruto not being allowed to train. That would have been the death of her. Wow, that's a rather hectic day. And how long till it's fixed? Naruto sniffed and wiped his nose. Another 3 days until Ero-sennin gets home. Aw. Patting the distraught boy on the back soothingly, Tenten leant in. So where were you going now? Surely there must be something you can do to take your mind off things. Naruto nodded. I was gonna go to Ichiraku's for tea. I have ramen at home, but nothing quite tastes like his ramen, you know. Tenten smiled. Yeah, that's true. Hey, how about I come with you? I haven't eaten yet, so I'm famished. Besides, if I do, that means I'll have a good chance of seeing this Auric no jutsu of yours. Brightening, Naruto smiled up at his newest best friend. Yeah, sure. Follow me. Grabbing the surprised Kunoichi's arm, he began dragging her off towards one of his many shortcuts. XXXX. The whole way, the two talked about training, ramen, Naruto's technique and ramen. Well, Naruto mostly talked about ramen. Tenten just guided the topic back to the Auric no jutsu. Nearing the store, Naruto picked up the pace and dashed into the store, grabbing his usual seat. Tenten followed and found him sitting expectantly, swinging his short legs under his seat. Smiling to herself, she pulled up a seat beside him and looked at the menu. Hearing Naruto start slapping the counter and shouting, the girl giggled and looked up. Ayam had wandered across and was now serving the hyperactive blonde. Remembering his manners briefly, he turned and pointed at Tenten. Ayam. This is Tenten. She likes ramen too. The taller teen laughed merrily and extended a hand to Tenten. Anyone who is a fan of ramen is welcome here. Tenten took the hand and shook firmly. It's a pleasure. I was thinking of starting off on something lighter. Maybe a miso? Naruto grinned broadly. You are so gonna have a mouth orgasm when you taste this. Both Ayam and Tenten choked on the air and looked across in disbelief at the boy. What was that, Naruto? Said boy looked back, his smile replaced with confused innocence. What was what? The two girls shared a look before Tenten got the guts up to repeat what he said. Mouth. Orgasm. You do know what an orgasm is, yeah? Naruto instantly brightened. Yeah. Niji and Kiba told me all about that stuff this afternoon. Apparently an orgasm is something that makes you feel really, really good, like weak knees and unable to speak properly after it good. What better explains what happens after I've eaten here then? The girls paled, wondering just what the hell was implanted into the boy's mind that day. Maybe Hinata is always having orgasms too. She's always got weak knees and stuttering and stuff. And then the cheeks of said girls had the color returned to them in a vibrant display of red. Ayam quickly took both of the ponderous boy's hands and looked him square in the eye. Okay. Naruto. Listen very carefully to me when I say that you are not to say that in front of Hinata. Ever. Or any other person for that matter. Okay. Naruto looked up with big eyes. Okay. But why? Ayam paled a touch from her previous brilliant red. Tenten came to the rescue though, taking the boy's attention from the flustered attendant. Because it is actually a very adult word that shouldn't be used around big groups of people. It actually means something very different to what you think. Naruto's eyebrows raised at the revelation. Really? What's it mean then? It was Tenten's turn to get all flustered as she tried to tell the boy. WWL. It's like. It's like that as you see climber. Naruto leaned in close, eyes narrowed. Are you okay? You sound like you're orgasming. Poor Tenten very nearly died. Thankfully though, came to the rescue, flushing so red that it looked like it hurt. Free ramen the rest of the night. With a whoop of delight, all former questions were forgotten as Naruto tucked into his free bowl of ramen. Holding a hand to her pounding heart, the little kunoichi wondered if she had just suffered a mild panic attack. Looking up to her savior, Tenten mouthed a very big, thank you, to Iam and promptly dropped her head to the bench. This was way more effort than it was worth. Chapter 7. After finally feeling her blood pressure stabilize, Tenten had managed to get 2 bowls of ramen down in the time it took Naruto to put away 10. Her hands were still a little shaky as she placed her chopsticks down and thanked Iam for the wonderful food. Looking across, she silently tried to compose herself further as Naruto continued inhaling noodles. There was one thing she could give him credit for, and that was this jutsu had to be incredible. If he could turn such a durable kunoichi, such as herself, into a stuttering mess that easily with just words, she couldn't wait to see his transformation. So far though, nothing had changed about him, other than the ever-increasing mess around him. Turning to look up at the older, warm-faced teen, Tenten raised an eyebrow. Does he always eat this much? Iam nodded. Yeah, this and more on a particularly hungry day. I swear, Naruto-kun is what keeps our business afloat sometimes. Tenten nodded slowly as she tried to rationalize why he could eat so much. He does have crazy amounts of stamina. Maybe he swallowed a ceiling tag when he was younger. That would explain where it all goes. Hearing a final sloppy burp as the full stop, Tenten saw Naruto patting an ever so slightly distended tummy happily. Thanks Iam-chan. Delicious like always. Turning a bit red again, Iam bowed to him a bit. A pleasure like always Naruto-kun. Slapping the money down on the bench, Naruto hopped from his chair and started waving goodbye to the shopkeepers. Tenten quickly hopped up and followed, throwing her words of thanks over her shoulder too. Jogging to catch up to the waddling boy, Tenten fell into step beside him. Looking up into the twilight, she sighed at the beauty of the sky. The blues, reds and blacks made a wonderful contrast to the small specks of light as the stars began poking through the sky. In a small moment of observation, Naruto noticed Tenten's attraction to the sky. Hey, do you have to get home anytime soon? Tenten shook her head. Nah, I still got a few hours before I'm due anywhere. Grinning happily, Naruto grabbed the girl's arm and in a squeak of surprise, dragged her off towards the Hokage's monument. XXXX. Ugh, where are you taking me Naruto-chan? The blonde just grinned and pushed another branch out of his way. Tenten had to quickly duck or else cop a face full of leaves and bark. Just wait and see, okay? You'll love it. Sighing, Tenten continued to struggle after the hyperactive boy as he pushed through the undergrowth. After what seemed like an eternity, her guide finally disappeared through a bush. Pushing her way through it, she stopped and dropped her jaw at the sight. She was standing on top of the Hokage's heads with a brilliant view of the city and, more importantly, the sky. Pretty neat, hey? Tenten couldn't make any words as she just stared up into the sky. The twinkling stars beckoned for her to just reach out and touch them. They were so close she almost felt she could. Standing up on her tiptoes, she reached out to the brightest and attempted to pinch it between her fingers. Tenten smiled as the light winked out between her fingers. Opening her fingers again, the little star remained, shining unhappily. So close. Naruto watched her the whole time, grinning as she reached up to the sky. The few words she breathed as she retracted her arm were too soft to hear, but Naruto didn't mind. Tapping her on the shoulder, he stepped back. So what do you think, huh? Tenten took another look over the breathtaking view. It's appealing, Naruto. Why haven't I ever been up here before? Naruto shrugged. Not many people ever come up here. It's not out of bounds or anything, I just don't think too many people know about it. He turned a beaming smile back to her. I only show my best friends this place. Tenten blushed slightly and placed a hand on her chest. One of his best friends? Surely not. They had only ever spoken briefly at best. Shaking her head, she looked at Naruto. Me? But we've only just met. Besides, I bet you have heaps better friends than me. Naruto looked around sheepishly. Well. Not really, hey. I've only just started really making friends and you're the first person ever to really want to listen to my problems. Well, the first after Sarutobi Gigi died. Tenten's eyes took on a sheen as she looked at the embarrassed boy. Why didn't he have more close friends than just her? Smiling at him, she gave him a light punch on the arm. Well, everyone who doesn't want to be your friend is just dumb. You seem like an awesome person to be around. Naruto blushed. You mean that? Tenten propped her hands on her hips. Course I do. You're the most fun person I've ever met. Not to mention you have a crazy jutsu at your disposal. Now come on, you gotta show me this thing. Naruto looked up at her in wonder. Was this girl for real? Because if she was, she had just made a friend for life. I'd love to, but Tsunadeba-chan said I can't do any chakra molding or anything until Ero Sennin comes back. Tenten pouted. That's so not fair. I wanna see this thing. Naruto felt a familiar tingle in his tummy. Bamf. A shroud of smoke covered the boy and Tenten blinked in surprise. When a breeze whipped through and took the smoke away, it revealed Naruto grumbling and holding her breaths up with both hands. Tenten smiled and started walking forward. Well, can I call it or can I call it? So this is your Auric no Jutsu. Naruto looked up. Yeah, this is it. Stupid thing has been giving me hell all day. Tenten emmed and awed as she walked around Naruto, studying every bit of the girl. Meanwhile, Naruto was growing embarrassed with the unusual attention. Are you okay there, Tenten? This is a bit weird. Tenten circled another 2 times before coming to a stop in front of her. Well, I gotta say, Naruto, that is pretty DMN impressive. She then reached out and grabbed both of Naruto's sizable melons. Squealing in surprise, Naruto jumped back while holding her violated chest. Tenten opened and closed her hands as she studied the feeling. Yup. They sure feel real alright. Looking back at Naruto, Tenten's eyebrows disappeared into her fringe as she whistled in surprise. Wow, Naruto-kun. You sure went all out. Huh. Following Tenten's gaze, Naruto noticed that her breaths had dropped to her ankles when she grabbed her chest. Quickly pulling her breaths up, she shot Tenten a dirty look. Tenten just waved it off. Oh come on Naruto, it's just a jutsu. Not the real you, right? Naruto shrugged. Felt pretty real. Tenten nodded as she looked at her hands. Sure did. You have a great set of knockers actually. I'm jealous. Naruto gave her a sus look. Just so you know, I'm not playing that you show me and I'll show you game. It always got me in heaps of trouble. Tenten's eyebrows rose again. You used to play that? So did I. But yeah, I got in trouble too. But that's okay, we don't have to play here, 'cause you don't have anything I don't. At least, at the moment you don't. Naruto's sus look became more intense. Tenten-chan. Do you like girls? Tenten giggled. Nah. I can however respect a good female body when I see one. Naruto covered her chest with one hand. I bet you respect me heaps then seeming you got to grope me. Tenten missed the sarcasm. Yup, sure do. Leaning in, she gave her another look. So how do you use this, hey? How did you beat all those amazing ninja? Naruto blushed. Well. If I tell you, you promise not to hit me, okay? Tenten nodded furiously. Cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye. Naruto gave her a confused look but nodded anyway. Okay. Well, for the diversionary part, I actually transform into this, just naked. Tenten went still for a moment and Naruto hardened herself for the imminent beating. After a few moments passed, Naruto opened an eye slightly to see Tenten cupping her chin in thought. Tenten. Tenten looked down at her. You know, I didn't think of that. And seeming you're a boy, you can easy do something that any self-respecting girl couldn't. Getting into the swing of things, Naruto brought up a fist in excitement. Yeah. That's it. And also, I know what guys like so I can totally play out any fantasy any guy would think of. Tenten leaned in, even more excited. Really? How? 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 Naruto crossed her fingers in front of herself. Just watch. HRMNO jutsu. An all-inclusive puff of smoke went up around the girls. Tenten started coughing but before she could say anything, she felt several soft bodies latch onto her. Tenten ka-in. Eek. The surprised Kunoichi's eyes bulged out as no less than 7 very naked and very close Narutos pressed themselves up against the girl. Tenten stiffened as one Naruto started playing with her hair while another started nibbling her ear. She then felt her face begin heating up as some inquisitive hands started running across her firm stomach and lower back. Just when the embarrassed Kunoichi felt the hands start dropping lower, the clones dispelled in a puff. The result left a very red and uncomfortable-looking Tenten struggling to make sense of what happened. Hearing an uproarious laughter, she looked across at Naruto and found the girl lying on her back struggling to catch her breath. Trying to regain as much composure as possible, Tenten sighed and ran a finger under her nose. You should have seen why yourself. Tenten smirked at the incapacitated blonde before her. It seemed this distraction jutsu was a double-edged sword. Very nice Naruto-chan. But if every time you use this you end up like this, it's not that effective after all. Naruto struggled to pull herself up. Wiping a tear from her eye, she hiccuped a few more times before finally settling on chuckling occasionally. Heh, yeah, maybe. That's the first time I've ever used it on a girl. It seems to work just as well though. Tenten crossed her arms. You just caught me off guard, that's all. Naruto snickered again. Not what your face said. Tenten started sweating. What did it say? Exactly. Naruto smirked. You liked it. Tenten-chan is a pervert. Tenten instantly rounded on the girl and held her hands out, making shushing gestures. Naruto, please. Everyone will hear you. Naruto laughed again. So you are a pervert. Tenten paused. And no, well, I mean, everyone has those thoughts sometimes. Naruto stuck her tongue out happily. Huh, still got you but didn't I? Tenten sighed in defeat. Yeah, you did. Straightening, she smiled at her. If it didn't then that would have just meant that the Hokage was weaker than me. Naruto grinned and popped her hands on her hips. You bet. Be grateful you got to see the wonderful Uzumaki-sama in action. Tenten dropped down beside Naruto and laughed. Yeah, I suppose so. Naruto nodded and looked up at the sky. Tenten then raised an eyebrow and looked at her friend. Hang on a second, Naruto. Didn't you get told not to use any jutsu of any sort by the Hokage? Naruto's eyes widened. Actually, yeah, she did. She ran a hand into her hair and laughed. Whoops. Guess I forgot. Tenten smirked and gave Naruto a playful shove. Well, remember for next time, okay? I can't sit here with a clean conscience and let you get away with disobeying Tsunade-sama. Naruto stuck out her tongue. Yeah, I suppose. Ah well, I won't forget, okay? They then fell into silence as they watched the moon rise over the horizon. While watching, Naruto snuck a glance at his female companion beside her. Sighing, Naruto leant back with a smile. The blonde hadn't felt this at ease in years. Just being in the company of someone who accepted her as who she was something Naruto had never truly experienced. Closing her eyes, she fell asleep. XXXX. Tenten had sat for a long while just staring at the sky. It had been a while since she had just relaxed with someone. Normally the girl was so focused on training that all other things were put on the back burner. She never really had any girly friends because they never held any interest. Shopping, makeup, boys, love. All that stuff was kinda pointless in Tenten's mind. Tsunade-sama was the perfect example of her ideal kunoichi with her strength, power, dems and self-reliance. But then here was Naruto, this weird boy. Girl who she had randomly met this afternoon and in the space of a few hours had made her totally forget about training, power and getting stronger. Turning to face her new friend, she smiled when Naruto let out a little snore. Poking her in the side, she sighed when Naruto didn't move. The blonde was out cold. Standing, Tenten stretched and looked down at Naruto. Normally it would have been way too weird to carry a boy home, but seeming Naruto was currently a girl. Picking up the little blonde, Tenten giggled when Naruto snuggled into her arms. You're just a poor little darling, aren't you, Naruto-kun? Shifting her position to make sure her breaths didn't fall off, Tenten started the trek back down the mountain to Naruto's flat. Chapter 8. Tenten-chan. Tenten slowly came to as the strange voice penetrated through her sleep. Tenten-chan. M. Groaning, she rolled away from the voice, determined to get more sleep. She felt the bed depress around her. Come on, Tenten. It's like 8 o'clock. Last night seriously couldn't have tired you out that much. Sitting bolt up, Tenten looked at Naruto, still female, with incredibly wide eyes. Say what? Naruto cringed at the scream but sat back on the bed. You know, last night. No jutsu, big talk, Hokage Mountain. Tenten's somewhat sleep-fuzzed head struggled to remember the night. Yeah, she remembered climbing up to the mountain top, Naruto turning to a girl, Naruto then swamping her with Kage Bunshins. Tenten's eyes widened even further as she remembered that bit. Naruto. Did you? And me. Last night. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Currently, Tenten was flushing red very badly and was looking at her with a scared, almost maniacal look in her eye. Trying very hard to understand what she was talking about, Naruto started off slowly. Did we what, Tenten? Tenten was struggling to work everything out. While she was a fan of early starts, even her brain took time to have its morning cuppa, before appearing. That, coupled with being very abruptly awoken in a strange house by Naruto and the foggy memories of the night before, made for a very concerned girl. Rubbing her eyes, Tenten swallowed. Did we? You know. No jutsu. You and me. Now completely on the same page, Naruto sent her a beaming smile. Yeah, we totally did. You wanted to see my no jutsu and I showed you good. You even enjoyed it a bit if I remember correctly. Naruto sent her a wink, happy to give her friend an early morning teasing. What Naruto didn't expect though was for Tenten to burst into tears. I can't believe my first was Naruto. As a girl. What am I? Now thoroughly perplexed, Naruto sat back wondering what just happened. Apparently their pages were slightly different. She knew girls had the mood swings of a crusty old parrot but nothing she could think of explained this. She sat back with a finger on her chin as Tenten wailed, mentally blocking out the sound as she tried to remember the night. Nothing really naughty happened. Besides, what's her first? We didn't do anything up there for the first time. Except to talk. Actually, what happened after that? Naruto looked back down to see Tenten hugging her pillow and crying into that. Gingerly reaching out, Naruto tried her best to detach the bawling teen from the now soggy cushion but was left with several scratches up her arms and an even bigger question mark floating over her head. Moving around, Naruto leaned into Tenten's ear and spoke above the muffled noise. Oi. Tenten. I do know why you're having a life crisis in my bedroom, but I was just wondering if you can remember how we got home. Naruto waited a while but Tenten made no sign of answering. Sighing to herself, she leant in again. Tenten. Bamf. Damn it. Jumping back in surprise, Tenten ended up on the floor as the explosion of manliness took place. Naruto looked down at her happily and repeated his question. Okay, you listening? Cool. Now, how did I get home? Tenten just stared up at him for a bit before stumping him with her reply. Naruto, did we shag up there? The boy looked at her with wide eyes. Not quite sure how to answer the question, Naruto just let his mouth take over while his brain went to its empty box. What's a shag? Tenten let out a frustrated yell before grabbing the surprised boy by his shirt. Did we have SEC? Naruto's eyes widened as he finally caught on. No, we couldn't have. I don't even know where to get any, and on our genin wages there's no way just you alone could pay the stork. Besides, why do you want a baby? You're so young. Having no answer to that, Tenten did the next smartest thing and gave Naruto a big WTF face. But then Naruto's eyes widened as he remembered Niji and Kiba's enlightening chat the previous afternoon. No, wait, that's not right. I gotta put this. He stuck his finger up. Into your. He made a circle with his other fingers and then poked his index finger through. Like this for section. Right? Tenten started slowly backing away as she contemplated having spent the night with the world's biggest pervert. Naruto. I don't think that. But what are you? What the hell? Naruto looked up from poking his finger back and forth through the hole to focus for a second. Biting his lip in memory, he then sent her a big grin as he came to his conclusion. Nah, nothing to worry about, Tenten-chan. We didn't hold hands or anything, so there's no way we could have had SEC. It was Naruto's turn to start to feel awkward as Tenten sent him the most scrutinizing glare of all time. This went on for several minutes till Naruto couldn't take any more. So. Want some breakfast? I got ramen. Tenten shook her head in amazement. You really have no idea, do you? Naruto looked over his shoulder indignantly from the walk to the kitchen. Excuse me, but I think you'll find I have the most smarts on ramen in the whole village. Tenten let out a bark of laughter. What the hell was she thinking, SEC with Naruto? Besides, when Naruto was a girl, there technically was no way they could have done that anyway. Naruto sent a sus look over his shoulder as Tenten's laughter slowly grew more insane. She has got to be the weirdest girl I have ever met. I might have to take her to Tsunade-chan to get her fixed. Tenten meanwhile felt the weight of being a bisexual teenager fall from her shoulders as she rejoiced in her continuing straightness. Twirling twice, she fell back onto the bed and let out another crazy laugh and ran her fingers through her hair. After that fright, nothing else could scare her for the rest of her life. Looking across at Naruto, she snickered as she saw him huddled over his cup on instant ramen. Feeling an overwhelming need to write Naruto's, for lack of a better word, Red Dead views on life's more NTMT times, the girl stood up straight with a new purpose. Seeing Naruto slurp up the last of his beloved ramen, she grabbed his arm and started dragging him towards the door amidst a cry of protest. Swinging it open, she tossed him out. No, none of that, Naruto-kun. We're going to see Tsunade-sama this instant. Naruto's eyes lit up. He always thought the first step to recovery was admitting one's faults. Sending Tenten another of his beaming smiles, he nodded happily. For sure. We'll get you fixed up all better in no time. XXXX. So I gotta stick my. Naruto stuck his finger up in the air. Tsunade sighed. Into the girls. He made the circle again. The woman before him looked like she was itching for a drink. And do this. He started poking his finger through the hole repeatedly. Tenten blushed slightly seeing the effort put into the motion. To make. He stuck his finger up into the air again. Throw up inside the girls. He held up his circle. And from that, the baby grows in the. He held the circle up higher. Tsunade slapped a hand to her head. Womb, Naruto. It is called. A womb. And then ages later, a baby pops out from there. Right? Tsunade sighed. Tenten shook her head. This was proving to be an impossibility. Kind of Naruto-kun. Naruto looked up at the two women before him. He smiled at them to show he understood. Kind of. He then went back to sticking his finger through his circle again. Tenten blushed and made to grab at his hands but was dodged. Honestly Naruto-kun, can't you stop that? And why can't you use the correct names? Naruto looked up at them and grinned. 'Cause it's more fun like this, and pumped his finger a few times to emphasize the point. Looking up at her idol, Tenten could tell the older lady was as close to tears as she could get in a situation like this. Trying to recover the already far lost situation, Tenten spoke up. Well, please Naruto, can you at least point to the bits your fingers mean? For Naruto's benefit, Tsunade had unearthed two human body posters, male and female of course, and stuck them up on the wall. Unfortunately for Tenten, Naruto still had yet to realize they were for him. There and there. Following Naruto's fingers, Tenten found to her horror that one hand was pointing at his own crotch and the other was pointing at her own. Squealing in mortification, the girl quickly crossed her legs and hands over that part of her face burning bright red. Naruto laughed at her reaction and went back to playing pokies with his fingers. Tsunade had seen where Tenten's failed attempt to direct the conversation was going and as such had already sunk back into her chair and cracked open a bottle. Seeing Naruto react how he did after he pointed at Tenten's groin and not even blush slightly, the old medic could tell Naruto really had no idea what was going on. Paging one of her ANBU, she shouted to be heard over Tenten and ordered a TV and tape recorder. Standing quickly, she then walked over to the two teens and picked them both up by the scruff of the neck. Throwing them down on separate chairs, Tsunade held out a very full cup of a strong alcoholic substance to each of the teens. Drink. What? Came the unison reply. Tsunade just moved it into their hands and walked to the door. Opening it, she dragged the TV in and then barked an order at the guard outside to not be bothered until further notice. Slamming it shut, she then activated a silence seal. While Naruto happily sipped on his beverage, Tenten watched her idol with concern. Something about this wasn't right. She then saw Tsunade slip a tape in and the girl let out a terrified gasp when she realized just what it was. Oh, please, please, please Tsunade-sama, don't do this to me, please, I beg you. My eyes are still innocent. Tsunade just grunted at her. Naruto can't seem to grasp what we're talking about, so just pretend this is a ball-out crash course in anatomy. Or something. Either way, I am sure as hell not doing this alone. Now settle yourself down for a show. Bamf. Both women turned to face their smoky, now third female member. Aw man, this SCKS. Ah well. What we watchin', Tsunade-bachan? Tsunade turned to see Tenten desperately mouthing "No." Shrugging, the taller blonde just grabbed a bottle and took a swig before settling down for the show. As soon as the cheesy music began to play, Tenten gave up hope and sank her cup in one gulp. She could only pray that this would get her sloshed enough that most of the session will be just a bad dream. Naruto meanwhile was chirping happily to Tsunade while waiting for the movie to really get going. It seemed she was a chatty drunk. So yeah, I haven't seen this movie anywhere before. What did you say it was called? No. Oh, that's okay, here's the title anyway. CC Nighttime Adventures. That's one I've never heard of. It almost sounds like something Ero Sennin would write. So yeah, anyway, what's it about? My. Tsunade smirked as Naruto's eyes grew rounder, the perverted image holding her attention captive. Her eyebrows went up though as Naruto then quickly pulled the waistband to her breathes out and looked down. So that's what it really looks like down there, hey? Chapter 9. The three ladies sat in silence as the credits rolled through. The movie had run for a full hour and at least two of the members present had seen things they had never even thought possible. Actually, just one of those two never thought it possible. The other one just never thought. Taking another swig from the nearly empty bottle, Tsunade glanced down the neck to see what was left. Turning her gaze to the company, she smirked. That had to have worked or else nothing would, short of actually making the boy girl do the deed. Leaning forward, she suppressed a chuckle at their faces. Naruto was sitting straight, eyes impossibly wide and her mouth a touch open. It was actually rather cute, Tsunade mused, but that was for another time. It was also the longest PRD she had ever heard the boisterous blonde stay quiet for. Gotta enjoy the little things, she supposed. Tenten however was hilarious. The girl was painfully red-faced and pressed back into the chair like she was trying to escape some form of attacker. Her body was turned away from the TV like she wanted to hide, but her eyes had seemingly remained glued to the screen. Her mouth was also wide open in terror and was squeaking softly to herself in what sounded like a comfort noise. Seeing the taller blonde move in the corner of her eye, the traumatized girl dragged her violated view from the TV to her. Her eyes began filling with tears and she let out a sob. How could you do that to me, Tsunade-sama? I'm only 14 years old. I haven't even had a real boyfriend yet. The accused woman just shrugged. You should know full well what you got yourself into when you were promoted to genin. The second you got that headband, you instantly told the world, hey, I'm now an adult and able to do all sorts of adult things. Watching porn for educational purposes are well included within that. Tenten flapped an angry arm at the TV. Educational maybe, but I didn't need to see how two people can get it done on a ceiling. Tsunade just huffed and rubbed her nose. Don't give me that. There was a valuable lesson on stamina and chakra control there. Tenten's mouth dropped open in disgust but couldn't fault the woman's words. I suppose it would be hard doing that on a ceiling. Especially being distracted so much by. Her face instantly turned red and she slapped the dirty thoughts away. Tsunade chuckled and downed the last of her drink with a satisfied smack of her lips. Turning to look at Naruto, she saw the girl sitting there quietly, watching her friends talk. The lack of reaction on her face though made Tsunade worry. Either that little session broke her already fragile brain or it didn't go as desired. Spinning her chair around backwards, she plunked herself down in front of the girl. So Naruto, any questions? Naruto shook her head. Nope. I more or less worked everything out from that show. A few things did surprise me though. Tsunade nodded. Alright. Recap for me. Naruto nodded with a grin. Right. The man's. She held up a finger. Goes in a girl's. She pointed down at herself this time to Tenten's enormous relief. And it then goes in and out, but that's when I started getting confused. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. How so? Naruto laughed. Well, I was always thought the throwing up was done down there. Ha ha ha, who would have guessed that the womb was down a girl's throat? Tenten snorted violently and turned a sickly green while Tsunade felt like writing off the fellow blonde as a lost cause. No Naruto, that's not right. Naruto's eyebrows then shot up into her hairline. But that's where all of it went. Tsunade sighed. Maybe in what you saw just then it did, but no, that's not right. Naruto huffed in frustration and crossed her arms in thought. Well, why the hell did they do that then? And how was I meant to know? I mean, that's where all the... Don't say it. Cleaning an ear after Tenten's mighty roar, Naruto continued. But yeah, like, it went there, but then I still had a guess of 2 other places. Seriously, girls are a maze. Pick the wrong entrance and you hit a dead end. Tenten held her head in pure embarrassment for the young girl, also feeling a might headache coming on. She really wished that the shock of seeing what she saw chased away the hangover as well as the buzz. She unfortunately tuned back into the conversation at the wrong time. So babies do actually grow in the tummy? I thought so. But how else would the man's ball snot get there if not through the mouth? Tenten thought now was a very good time to just lie down and sleep off the headache. The thump of body hitting floor didn't even register to the conversing blondes. Tsunade meanwhile had convinced Naruto on her error. So you're telling me that the front bum is the baby cave? Tsunade sighed. It seemed that that was as close to the real thing she was gonna get her. Yes, Naruto, that's right. Then it's a 9-month wait and then the baby comes back out the same way the man went in. Naruto's eyes scrunched in thought. But, aren't babies like, way massive to fit out that? Tsunade nodded. Yeah, but woman stretch. Usually the baby comes out just fine. The sparkling in Naruto's eyes made the woman facepalm furiously. That is amazing. So girls have like superpowers or something I've never been told about. Man, I wish I was a girl. Tsunade sighed in frustration. Believe me when I say you really don't want that, Naruto. A little tick went off above Naruto's head as she realized something. Wait, I am a girl. I have superpowers. She instantly started running around the room making zooming noises and laughing all the while. Tsunade growled and grabbed Naruto as she ran past and lifted her off the ground. The excited blonde giggled furiously and blew a raspberry as she defied gravity. Naruto. One big shake had the girl quiet and holding her head as the room spun. Tsunade then pointed to the charts behind her. Look, Naruto, just because you have a faulty hinge on does not mean you are a girl. There are so many differences between guys and girls that it would take me a full week to explain it. To you, probably triple that length though. Naruto tenderly shook her head and looked up at her captor. Nah. I did a really good job of creating this jutsu. I am a girl. See? Naruto then grabbed a handful of her chest in proof. Tsunade raised an eyebrow in surprise. That's quite the creation then, Naruto. Not many people can make solid transformations, but I suppose with your unique ability with the Kage Bunshins it's to be expected. But nevertheless, on the inside you are still a boy. Not a girl, no superpowers, nothing. Okay. Naruto crossed her arms and pouted. But it feels so real. I thought I'd gotten everything right too. Tsunade sighed and dropped the girl. Okay, Naruto, I'll show you the difference. I'll scan you to show you what your insides look like, then scan. She saw Tenten volunteer. At least that's what she'd tell the girl later. Tenten to show you the difference. Naruto hooped in glee, previous foul forgotten. Woo! I get to see my guts. She motioned for Naruto to sit on the desk and then whipped out an LTRSND. Okay, lift your shirt. This will be cold, alright. The blonde tensed and then gasped as the cold goo hit her tummy. Looking up at the screen, Naruto scrunched up her face as she tried make head and tails of the screen. Tsunade pointed to the diagram to her left. Okay, Naruto, this is a boy and a girl, right? Naruto nodded her understanding. Not a reliable source. Right, so right now you can see your lungs here and here. Moving the scanner up to Naruto's ribs, she pointed out the dark markings on the screen and then pointed them out on the charts. Pushing up, she moved the scanner higher up Naruto's chest. That was when the woman gasped in surprise. Naruto looked up at the screen wondering what happened. Bachan. Oh, it's nothing Naruto, just thought I saw something. Never mind though, it's gone now. Actually, Tsunade had seen something and it was a very important something indeed. BRST tissue. He actually has BRST tissue. That's impossible, but this is meant to be an external change. So what is going on? Frowning, Tsunade moved the scanner down lower across Naruto's stomach. Thankfully there was nothing different there, but what she saw back up on Naruto's chest concerned her. Returning to the girl's chest, she checked Naruto's melons again. And again, the same tissue that should not be present was clearly present. You having fun there, Tsunade-sama? The blonde duo looked over to see Tenten looking up from her spot on the floor. Tsunade looked down at her hand to see the scanner had pushed a good distance up onto Naruto's chest and was revealing quite a significant amount of undermelons. Tsunade straightened up as Naruto pulled her shirt down. Not as much fun as you watching, I'd guess. Tenten sent the older lady a look and pushed herself to her feet. She groaned and held her head as the headache returned. Tsunade just laughed. You're a bit of a lightweight there, Tenten-chan. She tossed the girl a packet. Take one of these, then go have another nap. You'll feel right as rain after. Tenten nodded and swallowed one of the pills inside. Sighing, she bowed. If that's the case, Tsunade-sama, unless you have more pawn to scar me with, I'll be off home. The Hokage just waved a hand in her direction. Yeah, that's fine. Just take Naruto with you. It's a fast-acting sedative, so have her there to catch you just in case you drop off. Naruto nodded and smiled. Right. You can count on me. Tsunade sighed and then shooed them out. Calling out to them, she made one final request. Oh, and Naruto, when you change back to a boy, come see me, would you? I need to run another scan over you. Remembering his forgotten lesson, he nodded. Sure thing, Bachan. See you later then. Closing the door on the two teens, Tsunade felt like slumping to the floor. Yet another mystery surrounding Naruto had appeared, and it definitely had to rank up in the top 5 weirdest of all time. Walking over to her LTRSND, she glared at the screen. Naruto, how the hell did you manage to actually add that kind of tissue when you don't even know where the spine attaches to? This definitely called for more sake and thought. XXXX. A dusty Tenten was now slung over Naruto's shoulder, snoring blissfully. The girl had managed to make it out of the Hokage's tower before slumping onto Naruto's side and dropping off before she could say, "Catch me." The result now drew strange looks from the crowds as the bouncy blonde skipped along happily. She was so very happy that she was able to help Tenten out for carrying her home. Naruto had managed to get Tenten to explain how they got home the previous night, and as such was incredibly grateful to the girl. A strange cat call made the girl look over and she saw Enko throwing her thumbs up. That's how we used to do it. None of this romance and stuff. Just in and out. Keep it real, girl. Having absolutely no inkling to what the crazy snake lady meant, Naruto just smiled and waved. I plan to. A Hokage's gotta keep it simple to run a village after all. Enko whooped in joy and pointed a finger at the disappearing pair. That's my girl. Cannot wait to see you making the decisions. Grinning broadly, Naruto shouted a thank you over her shoulder to her newest favorite adult. What a nice lady. I was all wrong about her. I'll have to remember that. Finally reaching Tenten's house, she kicked open the door and found Tenten's bed. Dropping the girl into it, Naruto kind of tucked her in as best she could before leaving. Closing the door behind her, she smiled happily at the completed mission and jumped off the balcony. On the way down, her tummy growled and reminded her of her rather limited breakfast. Landing lightly, Naruto then made to head off to her most favorite restaurant in the whole wide world when a voice sent a shiver down her spine. Gai-sensei. There she is. That wonderful spring lotus that bloomed with only the finest of flowers and fragrances. Turning stiffly, Naruto saw Konoha's green beast and his apprentice running towards her. What a fine young lady you have found, Lee Kun. We must show her the strength of your own youthful blossom. Hi, Gai-sensei. Lee. Gai-sensei. Lee. Knowing it was a futile attempt to run, Naruto still turned and ran, if only to prolong the inevitable for a few more moments. Chapter 10. What a youthful specimen, Lee Kun. Look how eagerly she runs. I know, Gai-sensei. She truly is the rarest of all springtime flowers. Damn it, I'm a guy. She's acknowledging you, sensei. Dust clouds billowed up through the streets as a streak of orange closely followed by two blurs of green raced through the streets. More than once a civilian was blown over from the air pressure of the speeding ninjas, their limbs flapping as they were gusted away from the street in a confused mess until they smacked up against a building. Naruto hardly noticed though because of the fear the two following youth fanatics induced. While having a near unrivaled amount of chakra and stamina, the two hunters both had a crazy amount of up and go in them too and as such couldn't be shaken easily. With this main problem in mind, Naruto had taken to tipping bins over in front of them to slow their pace. She also took to throwing as many objects back at her pursuers as physically possible, including but not limited to, fruit, clothing, a child's ball, vending stands, rocks, another child's ball, cats, dogs, a frisbee, signposts and the occasional surprised civilian. Unfortunately though, the two workout junkies just whooped in delight and vaulted, dodged, ducked and weaved their way around the obstacles. Short of upturning a house, the pair were not stopping. We're gaining, Lee Kun. We nearly have this fine young lady in our grasp. No. Front flipping over a chair, Naruto gripped the back of it and hucked it backwards at the men, screaming woman and all. Laughing loudly, Guy just soldiered through it, catching the still screaming woman in one arm and letting the chair smash to splinters across his manly chest. Carelessly throwing the lady into the nearest bin, he let out a cry and upped his pace. Lee. She is a keeper. Catch her. Hi. Gai-sensei. Lee. Gai-sensei. Screaming in frustration, Naruto blotted out the maddening chorus behind her and ducked into an adjacent alleyway. Unfortunately for her, the particular owner of a particular shop chose that exact moment to walk outside, only to be bowled over by a flying blonde ball. They rolled several meters before landing on top of each other, nose to nose. You. Eep. Instantly recognizing the wretched little child that had kicked a stone through his window the previous day, the furious shopkeeper lunged at the girl. Now I got you, you little rat. Just as his fingers satisfyingly clamped around the little urchin's neck, the same flash of unsightly green momentarily blinded him and had him sitting back rubbing his eyes. Tenderly opening them again, he noticed his prey had disappeared once again. Swearing profusely, he picked himself up only to catch a tomato straight to the bean. XXXX. Nice shot, Lee. Thank you, sensei. I could never let such an unyouthful man handle this delicate flower in such a manner and get away with it. Yash. That my cute little Lee Kun. Gai-sensei. Lee. Gai-sensei. Blinking dazedly, Naruto had a disturbing sense of déjà vu as a pair of strong arms carried her through the streets at a ludicrous speed. Instantly struggling out of the grip, she hadn't accounted for the rapid pace and as such smack face first into the ground as soon as her feet touched down. Sliding a good 15 meters on her face, she heard her kidnappers skid to a stop in front of her, a gasp of shock emanating from both. Raising a groggy and bruised head, the first thing her delicate eyes were treated to were a pair of thick, black, crawling, hairy things. Kaya flesh-eating caterpillars. Rolling backwards, she couldn't decide whether to feel relieved or not when it just turned out to be both Guy and Lee's enormous eyebrows wriggling in worry. Choosing not to be, Naruto quickly skipped over onto all fours and made a desperate attempt at freedom. Just as her fingers dug into the ground though, a strong arm wrapped around her middle and with a grunt from the girl, the blonde was easily lifted into the air. Unleashing a more colorful noun, the blonde began belting Lee's back in frustration. Gai-sensei. Look! A massage from the lady. Growling, Naruto did the next best thing and swung a leg downwards. Now, with the leg usually being longer than the torso, Naruto's flailing foot had some extra distance and as such came in solid contact with Lee's more empty parts. Knocking the wind out of the boy, Lee doubled up but didn't let his prisoner go. At this Naruto screamed in frustration. Can't you just go down like any normal guy? Instantly standing up straight, Lee managed to shoot her a way too bright smile over his shoulder. Never fear my beauty. My wonderful teacher also has training that includes working on one's greatest weakness. Guy crowed his compliment. Well said my youthful student. As men, we cannot afford to have such a blatant weakness. That being said, we have trained our ball to be the most durable ball in all of Konoha. Swinging his fist down, Guy smacked himself fair in the Johnson and took it smiling. Wo sh. J-sensei. Swinging down a fist, Lee also took one to the duffel bags. Flinching only slightly, his teacher smiled. Well done Lee-kun. Only a small amount of conditioning to go until you truly obtain the rocks of Konoha. Hi, J-sensei. Taking off again at breakneck speed, Naruto could only cup the place her ball usually reside in the one pain telepathically shared by all men. Well, almost all men. XXXX. Naruto had well and truly given up trying to escape the two excitable ninja as they simply cried, youth, every time an attempt was made and treated Naruto's flee as another chance to prove their burning flames to the overwhelmed girl. Finally coming to a stop in some training field, Naruto was dropped onto her behind as the green pair began another chorus from their favorite song. Rubbing her tender bottom, Naruto sighed as the noise escalated into a manly explosion of tears and hugs. Looking up at the glowing duo, Naruto's brain decided to make a rare appearance and began thinking a way out of this. Right. Lee has no idea who I am and currently, neither does Guy. Hopefully though, what with being a super-power jounin and all that, he will be able to work out that I'm me and take care of Lee for me. It's just how to explain it. Lost in her thoughts, she failed to hear the immense cry of, begin, and was treated to an abrupt attack from Mini Guy. After a rapid-fire combo, a powerful throw lobbed the disgruntled girl high into the air before falling to the ground to begin rolling several times. Bouncing to her feet, arms straight against her side, fists clenched and whole body shaking in fury, the girl gave the grinning pair the most evil, death-inducing glare she could manage. What in the hell was that for? Looking at her with wide eyes, Guy actually had the gall to look surprised. What do you mean, what was that for? Surely you couldn't have missed my explanation. Taking one mighty breath of restraint, Naruto looked him square in the eye. Well, just for a moment, why don't you humor me and pretend I didn't listen to your continuous ramblings for 1 second? Either not noticing the insult or choosing to ignore it, Guy smacked her in the face with a classic good guy pose. Very well. I said to my cute student that the best way to judge a person is to fight them. And with you clearly being such a well-trained kunoichi, I thought what better way to begin such a youthful romance such as this with a blazing fight of love. Turning to face his teacher, Lee looked up at him in awe, tears streaming down his face. Guy-sensei. It is truly the most honorable of honors to have you supporting my youthful flames of love so passionately. Who could ask for a better teacher than yourself? Lee. J-sensei. Arms open wide, they ran into each other and as they collided, rainbows poured from their bodies the same way a unicorn vomits fairy floss and stars. Instantly feeling sick, Naruto had the great urge to tear her eyes out with the closest stick but couldn't manage to even look away. After what seemed like an infinity, they finally released each other and Naruto found herself back in control of her body functions again. Dropping to the ground, she covered her eyes, ever so thankful that she didn't own a special bloodline. Remembering Team Guy's strongest member, she could only grieve for the Hyuga prodigy. Poor Niji. No wonder the boy was so bitter and twisted the first time she met him. After finally having fed the last of the memories to the Kyubi, Naruto slowly lifted her head and looked at the pair. They were still standing close to one another and smiling broadly at her. Sighing, Naruto pushed herself to her feet. Seriously, you two are meant to be together. Why chase me when your soul mate is 2 steps away? Not meaning for them to hear, the acute hearing of both ninja picked up the comment clear as day. Naruto was then subjected to being the first person ever to see the pair blush furiously and denying the claim adamantly. Raising an eyebrow, Naruto looked at the flustered pair. You seriously heard that? But yeah, anyway, why chase me? You two are so close, I'd be surprised there's a married couple alive today that hug as much as you two do. Everyone in town has thought about it at least once. Not to mention I'm really a boy. So what gives? Not really understanding the "I'm a boy" comment, the older man pressed on. Why you shouldn't make such claims, miss. Lee is a valued student of mine. He is like a son to me. There is no way I would ever consider approaching him for such an unyouthful relationship. Lee nodded feverishly. What sensei said. While male company is a great pleasure, a woman's company, such as yourself, fills the gap that no man should fill. So do not fear, I hold no such emotions for my amazing mentor and can focus on such a relationship with you. Screaming in frustration, Naruto stomped a foot and pointed an accusing finger at the jounin. Damn it, Guy. I thought you would have been smart enough to see who I really am. Didn't my name give away anything? Pausing for a second, Guy looked down at Lee. You never told me the name of this fine young flower actually. While Naruto face-faulted in the background, Lee smacked a fist into the palm of his hand. How could I forget? Guy-sensei, I would like you to meet Naruto-chan. A twinkle went off in Guy's eye. Naruto, you say? Lee nodded. Naruto meanwhile looked up from the ground, hope beginning to blossom in her chest. Why, don't you have a friend who is named exactly the same? You should perhaps take her to meet him. It is not every day you find another person named after a noodle ingredient, much less a very pretty girl. Perhaps she may be interested in a walk with you to find him after lunch. I can assure you, Naruto-chan, his youthful flames burn brightly indeed. Hitting the ground again, Naruto could only cry in frustration. It was DMN near word for word what Lee had said yesterday. Punching the ground futilely, Naruto scrapped the man-love idea. It was clear their relationship was so close it was to the point of sharing a brain. Pushing herself to her feet again, she screamed. Damn it, you two. Work it out. I am the Uzumaki Naruto. Unfortunately, the strain of the scream was released from both ends, one in a loud shout, the other in a loud parp. Both males present instantly froze when they heard the fart, blushing for the modesty of the fuming girl before them. Casting each other a sidelong glance, they looked back at Naruto. Look, I don't care about the fart and I sure as hell don't want sympathy, so. She was then cut off by dual farts from the men. Blinking owlishly at them, she was rewarded with a nice guy pose. Guy spoke first. We couldn't let a lady embarrass herself like that in front of 2 men. As such, we didn't want you to feel uncomfortable and farted too. Lee smiled at her as some residue gas squeaked its way out. Farting is a perfectly normal human function. Nothing to be ashamed about. Slapping both hands to her face, Naruto groaned painfully. Please, you two, I don't care about the fart. I never did before and I don't now. So would you please, just let me go? Seeing their smiling faces remain unchanging, Naruto began resigning herself to her fate. I guess Niji really was right. Fate though, had other ideas. Feeling the familiar tingle in her tummy, Naruto whooped in joy. Praise all things good and holy in this world. Bamf. The stunned look on the man's face was enough to make every bad thing that had happened to him today worthwhile. Laughing uproariously, he pointed at them and promptly collapsed to the ground. You should see yourselves. Rolling around in stitches, Naruto gasped for breath as the two ninja looked on in surprise and confusion. This continued on for several more minute until a still giggling and now hiccuping Naruto sat up, wiping the tears from his eyes. Meanwhile, the teacher and student were busy working out what happened. Seeing their plight, Naruto pushed himself to his feet and walked over to them. Can't you see what I meant by I'm a boy now? Seeing the blank looks on their faces, he sighed. I lost control of my auric no jutsu and now I'm spending half my time as a girl. Understand? Seeing Guy begin nodding, Naruto sighed in the knowledge that this fiasco was over. By the Hokages, I have never seen a Kawarimi of such speed before. Naruto-kun, I am sorry but we must be off. Lee. The boy snapped to attention. Hi. We must catch this girl and prove to her your burning passion for her. Such a magnificent woman cannot hold out for long against Konoha's mighty green beasts. Hi, Jay-sensei. Instantly disappearing in a cloud of dust and the repetitive calling of names, Naruto felt the growing need to punch something innocent as hard as he could muster. Perhaps I can get a restraining order from Ba-chan when I go see her next. He then remembered her order from earlier and as such, Naruto began trudging towards the Hokage's tower. He knew he was meant to go straight there, but he still hadn't had lunch and after that horrible mess, he thought he was well deserved a bowl or three of ramen. Heading towards the next highlight of his day, Naruto started humming happily. Chapter 11. Naruto had the dirtiest pout on he could possibly muster. The reason for his extreme displeasure was the blonde Hokage before him giggling furiously into her hands in a massively failed attempt to hide her mirth from the boy. You see, Naruto had come to her with a serious problem he wanted to see fixed in a calm, collected and above all, adult manner. What he got was a lady old enough to be his grandmother barely being able to maintain bladder control. Damn it Ba-chan, stop laughing. It's not funny. Tsunade let out a very unladylike snort and sniffed up an escaping snot dribble. Oh yes, I completely understand. We really must do something about this. Having Lee and Guy as fanboys really is a troublesome predicament. Instantly falling back into peals of joyous laughter, Naruto ground his teeth together, storing this in his memory for a well-deserved prank down the line. Come on Ba-chan, let it up already. Seriously, I wanna see this fixed. Can you ever say you've been hit on by a pair of hyperactive fitness freaks? Tsunade stuck her tongue out and wiped away a tear. No, can't say I can there Naruto. It must be a strange experience having someone with a man crush on you. Naruto stomped his foot. Enough with the gay jokes. Or else I find you a few fangirls of your own. Tsunade waved a hand at him. While gross, it doesn't have the same humor so don't bother. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Depends from what angle you're looking at it from. Tsunade shrugged. Meh, do you worst. Naruto's eyes thinned evilly. I plan to. Ignoring the threat, Tsunade carried on. Anyway, so you want a restraining order placed on Lee and Guy, correct? Not want Ba-chan, need. Life is one consistent fear with them around. Tsunade raised a curious eyebrow. Need? Naruto, this is Guy and Lee. While strange, they would never hurt a fly. A friend fly at least. Naruto shook his head in terror. You obviously haven't been subjected to one of their youth moments then. Naruto shuddered. It is easily one of the scariest things I have ever witnessed. Tsunade nodded sagely. From what I've heard, one of the very few genjutsus that actually managed to bring down Yuhi Kurenai. I'm impressed. Naruto's eyes widened. It even brought down Kurenai-sensei. And I lived through it. I must be immortal. A thump to his head brought him to the ground and back to his senses. No, you most definitely are not Naruto. You're just durable. She then handed him a piece of paper. Take this to Shizune. She'll see to it that it gets filed and the Green Duo are notified about it. Rubbing his head, he gave the old lady a smile. Well, thanks. Looks like you came around after all. He dodged the flying stapler and sent the Hokage a cheery wave before trotting out the door. XXXX. Naruto left Shizune's room in a huff. Having read what was being lodged, the brunette instantly burst into peals of laughter before shooing him back out to see Tsunade again. Her high-pitched chortle followed Naruto the whole way back to Tsunade's room and with a satisfied slam of the door, finally stopped the noise. Huffing lightly, he turned back to face the older lady and grunted at her. Hearing the noise, Tsunade looked up happily. Good. I was hoping you would still be a boy. Right, time for the second round of tests. She dragged out the ultrasound again and pointed at her desk. Sit. Naruto did as instructed and crossed his arms, still very unhappy at being laughed at so much. Shirt off. Naruto looked up at her. But why? You're just gonna scan my tummy again, yeah? I didn't need to take my shirt off last time. Tsunade just pointed at his top. Off. I'm gonna be scanning up over your chest this time, so you need to be topless. Grumbling, Naruto complied and tossed the shirt to the ground. Now what? Now you be quiet and go into your little box of nothing while I study you for a bit. But. Now. Grumbling again, Naruto quickly turned off. Sighing happily at the quiet, Tsunade set to work. Quickly lathering up his torso, Tsunade set to scanning him. As she expected, he had no remnants of anything female to be found. What the hell is causing this? This kind of total transformation is unheard of. It's a shame he doesn't have control over this, as it could be a fantastic infiltration technique. Looking up at the vacant-eyed boy, a smile tugged the corners of her mouth. Looking back down at his tummy, she poked the probe into his belly button. Naruto, channel some chakra, would you? She got a lazy grunt and a light blue haze encompassed the boy. Watching the screen, she sighed as nothing happened. What she needed was for Naruto to swap genders there so she could record the results. Looking up, she decided she could risk it. Say Naruto, would you please use your auric no jutsu for me? Naruto came back from his box and looked at her. Huh? Why? Tsunade waved the probe around. I want to see what happens inside you when you change. Naruto nodded and formed the seal. He then paused though, and began looking around. Hold up, I just wanna grab my shirt. Tsunade pushed him back down. No, still no shirt. I need to see everything. The two blondes locked eyes for a moment and silence reigned supreme. Tsunade Bachan's a pervert. I twitching, the lady slammed a hand down on the solid desk. Now listen here you little brat, if I wanted to be going and peeking at boobs, you don't think that I wouldn't just go down to the baths? Naruto shook his head. Everyone knows you stopped going to the public baths for fear of Ero Sennin getting his leech on. Tsunade growled and grabbed a handful of her own chest. Well, why would I want to look at your flat chest then anyway? I got more here than you could ever create. Naruto shrugged. Everyone knows looking at yourself isn't the same. And at your age, I wouldn't put it past you to hunt down fresh eye candy. Tsunade gasped indignantly. What? What the hell have you been drinking to go and start thinking that stuff? Seriously, has someone been telling you things? She then smacked the top of his head. And I'm not old. Growling, Naruto rubbed the sore spot. Whatever. You can't fool me. I seen you check in out Shizune-nichan. Now, at that previously mentioned time, Shizune had dropped something onto her top and had stained her front, so Tsunade was trying to discreetly work out what it was so she could tease her about it later. Try telling that to Naruto now though. Damn it brat, that is totally out of context. Naruto looked at her suspiciously. That's what everyone says when they get caught doing something pervy. Growling, Tsunade pushed Naruto down onto his back and glared at him, lacing it with a mild dose of killing intent. You listen up, you little rugrat. The only reason I haven't thrown you into the forest of death from here is because I need to find out what is going on with your body when it changes. Being a doctor means I have to look at rude bits from time to time. You should be thanking your lucky stars I didn't order a gynecology assessment for you. Naruto looked at her curiously. Gynecology? Tsunade leaned in with an evil gleam in her eye. Yeah. It means an assessment of. She flicked her eyes down to Naruto's crotch and back up again. Down there. Well, you're a girl. Naruto swallowed. And you wanna know the worst bit? Naruto shook his head. They go inside for the inspection. No. Instantly curling up in a ball, Naruto cupped his hands lower than usual and started crying. No, I don't want one. I don't wanna. Smoothing him out on the desk, Tsunade held him flat, one hand on his chest, the other on his legs. Well, do as I say or else. Without a second warning, her hands disappeared into a cloud of smoke and a soft bump appeared under her hand. Good boy Naruto. That's what I wanted. When the smoke cleared, she was filled with the power of the horrified gaze that hit her. You so are a pervert. Realizing that what she said coupled with where her hand was could lead to some very unwanted reactions, she did the only thing a Hokage could do. Just as Naruto was about to scream again, she tapped the girl's skull and instantly knocked her out. Sighing in relief, Tsunade then got to work on the finally silent girl before her. Quickly running the scanner up over Naruto's breasts, Tsunade frowned. Instantaneous transformation. The breast tissue is all fully formed and functional, assuming it was needed. It's like she was never a boy. Quickly grabbing a syringe, she drained a small amount of blood from her patient and bottled it. That will see just how far this transformation affects her, if it's just physical or actually a genetic change. Moving down to Naruto's lower stomach, Tsunade frowned at the screen. Yup, the beginnings of female internals. Not all there, but if the rate of complete transformation is to be judged, Naruto will be a full girl by tomorrow. Good thing Jiraiya will be here then. I think. Packing up the device, Tsunade then threw Naruto's jacket back on her and then splashed her face with the nearest liquid. Yucky. Instantly rubbing the burning sake from her face, Naruto eventually looked up at the Hokage with badly bloodshot eyes. What was that for? Tsunade shrugged. You know I never have water in here and that sake was old and needing to be thrown at someone anyway. Grumbling to herself, Naruto pulled her top back on. Thanks for nothing Aroba-chan. Nothing. Good. Tsunade then returned to her chair and sat down with a sigh. Okay Naruto, you can change back into a boy now. Nodding, the girl clasped her hands and concentrated. Nothing happened. She then looked at the older lady. Nothing happened. Frowning, Tsunade bit her lip. That cannot be good. Very not good. She looked back up at Naruto. Okay, I think I know what is happening. Whatever it is that has taken control of your jutsu is actually changing you into a girl. Permanently I fear. Naruto's eyes doubled in size and she opened her mouth for a powerful scream. I don't wanna be a girl. Tsunade Bie-chan, help me. Naruto was quickly decked with a harsh slap across the back of her head. Shut up Naruto, I was getting to that. When I just checked you, you were more a girl than when I checked you last. I think you using chakra has something to do with speeding up the process too. So until Jiraiya gets back, I order you not to use any chakra at all. You follow that order, or you turn into a girl faster. It's easy as that. Hanging her head, Naruto sighed. Why did this stuff always have to happen to him? Her. Nodding her understanding, she slowly got up and trudged towards the door. Having pity on the troubled youth, Tsunade called out to her. Here, have a free ramen coupon. I know you're doing it tough, so go spoil yourself. Smiling a bit, Naruto took the ticket and gave the Hokage a little wave. Thanks, Bachan. I'll do that. Closing the door behind her, Tsunade began biting on her nail. Naruto was never that subdued about free ramen, so this must be really affecting her. Leaning back into her chair, the blonde looked over backwards and out the window. Jiraiya, you better get back here quickly. Naruto's in a bit of trouble. Chapter 12. Sawayasukun. Sweat burned as it dripped into his eyes, his lungs screamed at him from lack of oxygen, his legs buckled at the knees in fear and his whole body felt as sturdy as a wet noodle, and yet he kept running. A scarce glimpse over his shoulder confirmed that the rising dust cloud was only getting bigger as the monster grew in size. Balling his fist and grunting in exertion, Sasuke dipped his head and forced himself to run even faster. Being the last Uchiha and the epitome of cool and all that sure had its letdowns. XXXX. Naruto was traipsing along unhappily kicking stones as she went. She was mostly ignored as the villages didn't recognize her, but Naruto herself didn't notice the lack of glares and whispers. Seriously, turning into a girl was the last thing she wanted. Like, not that there was anything wrong with them, but it's just. You know. They're all soft and. Like flowers and are just girls. In any case, being a girl sucked and Naruto couldn't want anything less than this. Sighing again, she continued kicking the hapless rock until a faint rumble in the distance made her look up. She spied a rising dust cloud that was rapidly growing closer with every second passing. Whenever such an occurrence happened, it could only mean one thing. Sasuke. And his screaming legion of fangirls too. In other words, the perfect opportunity to have a laugh in an otherwise completely miserable day. Quickly running towards the noise, Naruto spied a shop with the perfect view of the mayhem. Dashing in, she settled herself down in the doorway, half her face peeking out. Her little smile grew in proportionate with the growing noise, the excitement building. Her eyes then twinkled as she saw Sasuke round the street corner at high speed. A chuckle then emerged as she watched the Uchiha bolt down the street as the screaming masses of female rounded the corner after him. Seeing the wide-eyed look of panic of his face was too much for Naruto, and the girl collapsed in a laughing fit, rolling around as the memory was played over and over in her head. Looking up through the tears, she then noticed that the black smudge of an Uchiha was rapidly growing. Wiping her eyes, she took another look. It wasn't so much that he was growing, it's just he was getting closer, and fast. Her eyes then widened as she realized where he was headed. She started scrambling to try and get out of the way, but to no avail. Sasuke careered in through the door, tripped over the blonde bump beneath his feet and sent the both of them down in a tangled mess. Cringing in pain, Sasuke looked back down and saw behind him a blonde girl nursing a bruised side from where he kicked her. Oh no, not another one. The reaction though was far more favorable than he could have imagined. Damn it team, watch out where you're going. That hurt. Naruto. His brilliant mind started whirring as he factored in the new variable. He saw the girls rapidly closing in. He saw the back door too far away to reach in time. He saw Naruto was a girl. He saw a plan. Oi! With a startled shout, Naruto was dragged up and bustled out of the shop by a determined Sasuke. XXXX. What? One girl of the Sasuke fan mass noticed something. A heartbreaking something. No, it was worse than a heartbreak. Uchiha Sasuke was walking out of that shop with a girl on his arm. She was even resting her head on his shoulder as they walked. The mob screeched to a stop and looked on with wide eyes at the totally impossible scene. Sasuke, their Sasuke, was walking with some blonde girl. Instantly surrounded, Sasuke looked around cautiously at the varying emotions displayed. Horror, despair, betrayal, devastation and anger were just a few he picked up as he tried to move forward. Ah! What? Team, what the hell did you knock me out for? Eyes numbering in what seemed thousands instantly fell on the girl by Sasuke's side, now nursing her head. A moment of silence passed before a roar of disapproval erupted from the crowd. You cannot talk to Sasuke-sama like that. How dare that little slut say such a thing, Master Uchiha? The nerve. Skank. We should string that little blonde whore up by her toes and beat her like a piñata. Shave her head. As one can imagine, those were the nicer of the insults that instantly bombarded Naruto. Still not totally back from unconsciousness, Naruto just grabbed onto the supporting arm. Tighter and clenched her eyes shut, hoping that the arm would shoo away all the noise. Instead, the noise paused for a moment before exploding into an even louder volume, the air filled with death threats, suicide threats and arson threats at the sight of Naruto clinging on tightly to a now slightly blushing Sasuke. Quickly though, the noise became too much for the last Uchiha. Shut up. Silence instantly followed with a faint up. Up. Up, echoing in the distance. Naruto, now wondering if she had been killed or not, tentatively opened one eye and looked around. What she saw was a ring of girls of all ages looking on in shock. Following their eyes, she looked up and saw a heavily breathing Sasuke standing above her. Why am I so close to the team? Following his body down, Naruto then realized that it was actually Sasuke's arm that she had been clinging to so tightly. With a scream, she let go and dropped to her behind before scrabbling away from him. What the hell, Sasuke? Instantly, the eyes dropped to Naruto and the girl froze under the weight of killing intent focused at her. One or two civilians don't have all that much strength behind their gaze, but multiply that by 100 and things start getting serious. Totally ignoring them though, Sasuke walked across to Naruto and tenderly picked her up. Totally shocked, Naruto didn't offer any resistance as her savior gently dusted her down. Are you okay, Naruko-chan? What the F dash? With a sharp pull, Sasuke had pulled Naruto in close and buried his face into her hair, right beside her ear. He then began whispering into the disgusted blonde's ear. Shut up, dope, I don't like this any more than you do. Less even. The only reason I am doing this is to get rid of this plague that follows me everywhere. Now be quiet and play along and I'll buy you an all-you-can-eat seat at that ramen place of yours. Naruto then stiffened as Sasuke started running a loving hand up and down her lower back. As impossible as it sounded, Naruto was still seriously tossing up if even ramen was worth this. She shuddered as Sasuke nuzzled into her neck a little more. Realizing she probably wouldn't get out of this alive any other way, Naruto decided to make a compromise. You make that a week's worth of free ramen, plus some one-on-one time with Kakashi and you have yourself a deal. Growling unhappily, Sasuke nodded. Trying his best not to puke, he pulled himself from the blonde locks he had his face buried in and looked around. The reaction was even better than he could have dreamed. Every single one of the girls' jaws were touching the ground and their eyes were so wide Sasuke guessed that the only thing holding their eyeballs in was the optic nerve. Taking a cautious step forward, he suppressed a repulsed shiver and grabbed Naruto's hand. He heard the girl stifle a gag and stiffly step forward too. Taking a shaky breath, Sasuke tried to keep his voice as steady as possible. Oh okay girls. You need to stop chasing me around now. This is Naruko-chan. And we are da. Cough we're dat. Sigh we're dating. Naruto visibly wilted at the name Sasuke gave her but weathered it, all the while chanting, weeks free ramen, weeks free ramen, weeks free ramen. One irate girl though stepped forward and pointed accusingly at Naruto. Whatever. I totally deserve to be your girlfriend so much more than that flat-chested bimbo. I've been chasing you since before the academy, but I have never even seen her attempt to get you once. Sasuke growled at her tenacity and took a menacing step forward. Whether you have seen her or not before doesn't matter. She passed the academy test, you didn't. She does have breasts, you don't. And the reason why I chose her is because she didn't chase me. Naruto just picked up the tempo of Week's Free Ramen and desperately tried not to think about Sasuke staring at her chest. He wasn't of course, but every other girl in the vicinity was. I must admit, he's right. Is that what Sasuke-sama really likes in a girl? I thought he liked long hair. Maybe he likes both. I hope I get big boobs one day so Sasuke-kun will look at me. I bet they're fake. Watching the now mortified girl slink back into the crowd covering her chest, Sasuke allowed a smirk of success. This was going perfectly. Of course though, anything that can go wrong, will go wrong, at the worst possible time, as quoted by Edward Murphy. Now was no exclusion. Another brass girl then stepped forward and smiled evilly at them. I haven't even seen her before. None of us have. For all we know, she could be a he. So prove it. Sasuke's eyes widened and Naruto's chanting picked up speed again. Prove it? The girl nodded. Yup. Kiss her. Show us that you aren't just trying to pull another one over us. Instantly the blood drained from Sasuke's face as he turned to face the still mumbling girl attached to his hand. Nothing he thought of ended up working. On one hand, he could tell all those evil creatures to rack off and mind their own business. That wouldn't work though because they never listened before and that would just prove to them that the Naruko and Sasuke pair was false. An added downside to that was that he was now stuck in the middle of a ring of girls and even with his speed, he wouldn't be able to avoid that many bodies. On the other hand, he could kiss Naruto and be done with it. But it was Naruto. It didn't matter how girly she currently looked, Naruto was still a boy. He'd already accidentally kissed him once and that was one far too many times by anyone's taste. Turning to face the blonde, Sasuke's mind shut down. It was all a loss. All a loss. The next thing though came as a total surprise. While Naruto had been chanting externally, internally her mind had been running a mile a minute. There was no way in hell that she was kissing Sasuke and she did not want to lose that week of ramen in Kakashi. So quickly steeling herself, she pulled Sasuke in close. She purposely pressed his arm in between her breasts and wriggled around slightly to increase the effect. The result was instantaneous as Sasuke instantly hit levels of red unknown and all the girls dropped their jaws for the second time that day. Oh come now. We don't need to kiss to prove anything. Besides, we're saving that for tonight, aren't we, Sasuke-kun? What the F dash? Instantly copying the Uchiha's previous move, Naruto pulled his head close and pretended to nibble on Sasuke's ear. Shut up. There is absolutely no amount of ramen on this world that would make me kiss you again. And seeming you were so dumbstruck, I decided to do things my way. You play along and will hopefully be out of here soon enough, no kissing. Leaning back, Naruto put on a false smile and gently blew into Sasuke's ear, eliciting a rush of goosebumps down the boy's back. Trailing her hand down his cheek, Naruko played with a loose hair strand hanging down the Uchiha's brow. She put on an adorable pout and looked up at Sasuke disappointedly. Would you really allow these big, mean girls to ruin our night? A clammy sweat broke out all over the boy but he swallowed the enormous lump in his throat and stiffly shook his head. Naruto's reaction was immediate. Her enormously cute eyes widened exponentially, her smile stretched and her boobs bounced happily as she jumped onto the frozen boy's arm, trapping it between them again. Yay! Thanks Ducky-kun. I knew you wouldn't let them destroy our night together. Sasuke looked down at Naruto in horror. Ducky-kun. All the girls looked at Naruto in envy. Ducky-kun. Naruto smiled brightly and beamed it around at the girls. Yup. Who else has such an adorable hairstyle that looks just like the fluffy bottom of a cute lil ducky? She played with the back of Sasuke's hair while the boy twitched violently. Naruto squealed at the softness. So cute. Thoroughly grossed out and in need of a serious shower, Sasuke grabbed Naruto's hand and quickly led the charge back towards the Uchiha state. All the girls robotically parted as they stared on in shock as the pair rushed through them. Naruto's then let out a traveling squeal and giggle, making everyone blush as the words reached them. "My, you want to do this already, Ducky-kun? Just be gentle, okay? It's my first time." Bile filled Sasuke's mouth, but he quickly swallowed it back down with a dangerous thought. "As soon as we get to my home dobe, I am killing you. I swear on my family's honor." As they passed the last of the girls, Naruto turned back and looked at the stunned group. She let out a high-pitched giggle and pulled down one eyelid. "Maybe next time, honey." Chapter 13. Naruto was actually beginning to trip over her own feet with how fast Sasuke was pulling her along. Growling, she tugged a bit on her arm. "Oi! Slow down. We got away now so you can stop with the sprinting." Sasuke just pulled back, making Naruto stumble badly. "Shut your gaping hole. I don't care what you think." And in an unexpected moment, Naruto did. Sasuke was still too livid to notice, but Naruto was really shocked with herself. It actually hurt something within her to hear that. While most of her concentration went to not falling down, a small part of her mind was having a little war with herself. What the hell? Why didn't I tell him to get over it or something? And what is that annoying nag in my stomach? Frowning in confusion, Naruto punched herself in her gut. Nope, that was a different pain. So what was this other one? What is wrong with me? Sasuke told me to shut up. Naruto's eyes widened to enormous proportions. Digging her heels in, she instantly dragged a surprised Sasuke to a stop. Turning around, the boy gave Naruto an angry glare and tugged on her arm. "Come on." Naruto didn't budge and just looked at Sasuke in horror. "No freaking way." Sasuke scowled at Naruto and got right up in her face. "No freaking way what?" Naruto shook her head and refused to look up at her taller companion. "I think I'm gonna be sick." "Fine." Scooping Naruto up onto his shoulder with a surprised squeak, Sasuke took off, intent on getting back to his home and then murdering Naruto quietly for his public humiliation. The whole way there though, the girl couldn't stop thinking, what is going on with me? XXXX. Dumping Naruto onto her behind, Sasuke quickly went back and locked the door in preparation for the maiming. Naruto just rubbed her backside and absently thought that girls must have really tough bottoms if they get dropped on their backsides anything near as much as she did. Looking up, she saw Sasuke lock the door and turn around with a glint in his eye. That was when Naruto realized something bad was going to happen. Moving back slowly, Naruto didn't take her eyes off the boy. "So. What now, hey? Now that I helped you escape with no kissing or anything." Sasuke just started stalking towards her in anger. Naruto took it a different way. Sasuke." Shaking his head, the boy growled. "After that little stunt you pulled back there, I'm simply repaying the offer. This is going to hurt." Naruto's eyes widened as she began piecing things together. Naruto teasing Sasuke. Naruto frustrating Sasuke. Naruto insinuating more to come later with Sasuke. Sasuke now advancing on her like a predator. Naturally, she came to the wrong conclusion. Screaming in unparalleled horror, Naruto instantly jumped to her feet and ran for the door. She slammed into the door at high speed and struggled to pull it open, screaming shrilly all the while. While still wanting to cause the girl much physical pain, this new behavior confused the boy. He was expecting Naruto to at least scream at him and offer up a bit of a fight, not just turn into a shrieking mess. Clamping his hands over his ears as Naruto hit a particularly shrill note, Sasuke shouted to be heard over the noise. "What the hell is your problem now?" Naruto turned around with fear-filled eyes and boomed back at him, "Don't you dare rape me." Color instantly drained from the boy's face and he stumbled back as Naruto returned to trying to unlock the door. Quickly regaining control over himself, Sasuke charged up to the blonde and grabbed her shoulders. Spinning her around, he then unleashed a furious punch across Naruto's face, promptly knocking her out before she could start screaming again. Dropping the girl, Sasuke staggered back to the back wall and slumped down against it. He gripped his head in confusion as he struggled to figure everything out. What the hell came over him? Her. Boy or girl, it's still Naruto. That's just nasty. What honestly gave him that idea? Sighing, he leant back and took a few calming breaths before looking across to the now peaceful girl. The quickly forming bruise on her face though made him chuckle. Granted, he wanted to beat her down worse than that, but he knocked her out with just one punch and that felt pretty damn good. Besides, after that fiasco, Sasuke knew he had to work things out with his crazy blonde teammate or else there would be some hectic repercussions. Hearing a low groan emit from the downed girl, Sasuke sighed again. Hopefully that punch knocked some sense into her. Oh. He watched Naruto sit up holding her head, cringing when her fingers brushed against the bruise. Where is he? Oh. Oh, I think. Sasuke's eyes widened when he heard a sniffle. No way, this was not happening. His keen ears picked up the tiny splat of a little drop of water hitting the floor. Apparently, way. A sob filled the room and then within seconds, Sasuke had a bawling Naruto to deal with. Normally in such an instance, he would have run away as fast as he could manage but this time, the object of his detest was in his actual home. Frowning over the noise, he struggled to understand what was happening. Naruto was taking this whole, being a girl thing way too far. He looked over when the note changed. Naruto was now huddled down in a tiny ball, sobbing into her arms. Maybe if he could at least get Naruto to see reason, he could make progress. Standing up, he quickly walked over. XXXX. In Naruto's head, there were way too many things going on for her to deal with. On one hand, her brain was screaming at her, telling her to suck it up and quit crying, not to mention it was Sasuke that she was crying about. But on the other hand, there was this weird feeling, much like her brain was turning into mush. It felt soft and emotional and afraid and girly. And when that part of her brain heard the footsteps coming towards her, it completely freaked out. Jumping up, Naruto screamed again and started banging on the wall in a futile attempt to break out. Sasuke had had more than enough and with a growl, he grabbed his teammate and spun her around and slammed her into the wall. He then clamped a hand over her mouth and then positively deafened the girl. Naruto, get a grip of yourself. Her wide eyes flickered around and her chest heaved violently as she hyperventilated, desperate for escape. Unfortunately for her, Sasuke had no experience in tactful explanations and as such received another hard thud into the wall. Dude! What the hell is wrong with you? You're acting worse than Sakura. That statement thankfully managed to sink into Naruto far enough to calm the girl. While her eyes were still wide, they weren't as frantic as before and her breathing was more controlled. Sasuke looked at her with a stern gaze and cocked an eyebrow. Okay, now, I'm gonna let you go so you can tell me what the hell is going on, alright? You scream again though and I'll punch you so hard you grandkids will be bruised. Naruto nodded sighed as Sasuke let go of the girl. Dropping to the floor, Naruto gripped her head and cursed. Sasuke allowed her a minute before interrupting the moment. So, what the hell was that back there? Rape? Where the hell did you get that from? Naruto shook her head violently and took a few deep breaths. Finally calming herself, she looked up at Sasuke and frowned. Look about that. Sorry. You will never hear that again but there you go. I honestly do know where that came from but it was this weird overpowering fear I couldn't control. It was so dumb but it was totally irrational. Naruto nodded. Yeah, that. The whole time I was like, get over it. But this stupid fear just wouldn't go away. Sasuke frowned. So what does that mean? Naruto shrugged. Do know, but I don't like it. Tsunade Bachan said I'm turning more into a girl with each change, so that might have something to do with it. Sasuke swallowed. He did not want another fangirl, especially one who knew everything about him. He then came up with an idea to check if things were really going the way they feared. Right. I got an idea to check if you're girling out on me. I say a word, you say the first thing that pops into your mind. Easy. Naruto nodded slowly. Okay. So how will this help? Sasuke sighed. If you say stuff that's girly, we'll know you're changing. Naruto bopped a fist into her palm. Ah. Gotcha. Sasuke nodded. Right. We'll start with something easy. Sakura. Naruto's eyes lit up. Babe. Sasuke sighed again but nodded. Predictable, but a good start. Kakashi. Pervert. Sasuke. Bastard. Hokage. Me. Ramen. God's gift to mankind. Kiba. Smells. Kunai. Stabbing. Gaara. Psycho. Konoha. Home. Hinata. Closet pervert. Sasuke sent Naruto a weird look. Niji. Hooped his ass. Flowers. Pretty. Sasuke paused. Shopping. Clothes. Bed. Soft toys. Dirt. Gritty. Orange. Tacky. Both their eyes widened immensely as Naruto slapped her hands over her mouth. She then took to shaking her head while shouting, I'm a boy. I like orange and mud and girls and rolling in dirt and porn and sports and graffiti. Sasuke frowned as he seriously considered something. Looking up at the frustrated girl, he waved at her to grab her attention. Hey Naruto, what do you think? Sasuke then struck his usual brooding pose that he knew attracted women like vultures. Naruto instantly squealed. They then both paused in shock before Naruto started clawing at the door in renewed vigor. Get me out of here. Damn it, I want out. Sasuke paled considerably and really felt like he needed a little lie down. It was then though that Naruto flinched and a puff of smoke went off. Coughing, Sasuke waved a hand in front of him to clear the air. He heard a manly shout from within the smoke and was instantly tackled by a much more solid Naruto. Yes. Power to the man. He then punched Sasuke in the gut and jumped off him, leaving the Uchiha rather winded on the floor. Yes. Punching stuff is fun. He then farted brutally. Disgusting. I love it. He then grabbed his top and started making out with it lovingly. Oh sweet, beautiful, vibrant, sleek and sexy orange. I will never badmouth you ever again, I promise. It's a promise of a lifetime. He then jumped through the nearest window and landed in the dirt outside. He began rolling around in it, creating one huge dust cloud. When he emerged, he was now a dull brown. Yes, dirt. Nature's cleaning agent. Raising his eyebrows, Naruto remembered something. Stretching his pants open, he looked down them. He grinned broadly. Yes. It's all there again. He jumped around a bit and watched everything else jump around in time. He let his pants go with a snap and then patted his flat chest. Woo! Pecs. His eyes then lit up and taking a deep breath, he shouted down the street as loud as he could. What kind of bees harvest milk? He paused for a few seconds for added effect. Boobies. Naruto then began laughing uproariously and collapsed into the dirt again. Yes. Manly jokes. I love them. He then started swinging his arms and legs and made a dirt angle. Jumping up, he shook himself like a dog and sneezed when all the dust went up his nose. Feeling something solid come forward, he blocked a nostril, tilted his head back and blew as hard as he could. The chakra-boosted booger flew down the street and out of sight. Raising his arms high in the air, Naruto bounded down the street, singing loudly, "I am a man. I am a man. Someone bring me a beer." As his energetic form disappeared down the street, Sasuke struggled to the door and pulled it open. Clutching his gut, Sasuke growled and spat in the direction Naruto took. "He is never coming back here again so long as I live." Chapter 14. Man, 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 man. Naruto was stomping through the streets singing loudly and horribly off-key as he positively glowed in his refound manliness. Civilians were glaring at him in distaste, the demon boy now being even louder. One particularly crank old lady threw an old shoe in his direction. Naruto noticed and turned to find out who it belonged to. He saw the woman glaring holes through him. Feeling way too good about himself to just let it slide like all other times, he sent her a big false smile and picked up the shoe. "May I be led to believe this shoe is yours?" The old lady snarled at him. "Damn right it's mine. You're making all this horrible racket, disturbing the peace more than normal, and I cannot stand for it." Naruto cocked his head at the screaming children playing ball no further than 10 meters away. "Perhaps you should sit down then, because there's a whole lot more noise than just me around. Turn your selective hearing aid off and look around. Those kids over there are making twice the noise I am. So why don't you crawl back into that little shop of yours and go count the floorboards, because I have so many better things to do right now than listen to one cranky old bat." The woman started frothing in fury at being spoken to like that. Several other shopkeepers and bystanders stood up too. How dare you? You cannot speak to me like that. Shinobi or not, you need to learn your place. There was a mumble of agreement through the crowd. Naruto just shrugged and started walking away. "My place is protecting happy people from bitter old fossils like you." The crowd instantly circled around him menacingly. One large citizen stepped up, looking down his nose at the boy. "You do realize we can write out an official complaint that can have you reprimanded and sent back to the academy. I suggest you watch what you say, boy." Naruto looked up at him disinterestedly. "I'm sorry. You must not understand vast amount of damn I do not give." The man growled at him and raised a hand. "Watch yourself, boy. You might bite off more than you can chew." Naruto laughed. "Yeah, maybe one day. But at the moment, all I see is a bunch of overconfident airbags threatening Konoha's demon. I'm pretty sure that would go down well in my favor." He gave them all a smile, just allowing enough chakra to lengthen his canines a tad. "Surely that tiny amount wouldn't affect me. No harm done." The group stepped back a bit, and with that Naruto stepped forward and walked through them. He threw them all the bird over his shoulder and laughed as he walked away. "Maybe next time you gang up on me, you can bring me something that will actually pose a threat. I feel bad fighting armatures." He was instantly showered in insults and curses, but Naruto couldn't have been happier. He spun the shoe around his index finger and began whistling. Demon, 1. Brainless villages, 0. XXXX. Anko was happily chewing her most favoritist treat of all time, eyes scrunched up in pure bliss as the delicacy slowly slid down her throat. Kurenai was watching disinterestedly as the vibrant woman leant forward and grabbed another 3 sticks of dango before stuffing her face again. Sighing, Kurenai dropped her arm to the table and looked out at the sun. "Seriously, Anko, you've been eating for the past hour. Keep that up and you'll get fat. Besides, I have things to do. You really don't need me to stay here and watch you gain weight." The snake mistress strained as a not fully chewed piece was forced down her throat. She breathed out happily. She eyed her friend. "Oh come on Kurenai, you know you need me to make you stop working." If I wasn't here, you'd be nothing but bones. Just watching you work makes me tired. With that said, another stick found its way into her mouth. Frowning, Kurenai went to say something, but just as she opened her mouth, Anko flashed forward and stuffed a dango ball into it. Coughing in surprise, Kurenai had to quickly chew and swallow or face having to dislodge it from her lungs. Anko laughed and ended up spitting food everywhere. Not caring though, she pointed a stick at Kurenai as said woman wiped food from her face. That's more like it. Eat. Drink. Be merry. You don't have hardly enough downtime. At least not for me. If I had a beard and smoked though I'm sure you would. Shut up. Cheeks now matching her brilliant eyes, Kurenai looked down shyly and ignored Anko's chuckles. Sticking another ball in her mouth, Anko looked around and peered out the window as she heard a horribly off-key voice nearing them. Happy for the distraction, Kurenai followed her friend's gaze until she saw the telltale tuft of striking blonde hair. Oh, that's Naruto-kun. Anko gave her a vacant look. He's on Kakashi's team. Ah, that Naruto. Turning back, they saw him nearing them, swinging a shoe around one index finger. Noticing them, he stuck an arm up and waved vigorously before running over. Kurenai-sensei. Crazy snake lady. How are you both? Anko's eyebrow twitched and Kurenai eyed her cautiously. We're doing okay, Naruto-kun. How about you? You seem very lively today. I would have imagined you'd be training with all that energy. Naruto deflated a bit but shrugged it off. Ah, I can't. Tsunade-bachan told me I can't because of a medical condition, or something. While she was a serious workaholic, Kurenai always had time for a troubled student. Patting the seat beside her, she shuffled across. Really? That's quite disappointing. Did you want to tell me about it? Naruto shrugged again and dropped down beside her. Yeah, I suppose so. I do know how you haven't heard about it yet though. I was just off to find something to eat though. I'm really hungry but don't have much money. Patting his tummy, he was happy to hear it growl angrily. Perfect timing. Looking ever so slightly up at Kurenai, he tried his best to look as malnourished as possible. He saw her face crack slightly and he knew he had her. Sinking into his chair, he sighed despondently as his stomach grumbled again. Hearing a defeated sigh from the woman beside him, he internally grinned. Food always tasted better when it was bought by someone else. Fine. If that's the case, I suppose I can buy you one bowl of something. What would you care for? Ramen. In a stroke of genius though, he remembered his manners and bowed slightly. Please. Thank you so much for this too. It's been hard for me lately, so this is a big help. After much experience in draining Irika's savings, he found it was much easier to get a second serving if one was extremely polite. Seeing Kurenai smile down at him, he was pretty sure he was going to be waddling out of here once his tale was finished. As Kurenai waved over a waiter, the purple-haired lady on the other side of his meal ticket waved him over. Leaning in, she cupped her hand to his ear. Don't think I don't know what you're doing. You're just lucky Kurenai is a softie. Leaning back, she smiled. You played it well though. Hell, if I could pull something like that off as well as you can, I'd be doing it too. Seeing Naruto smile sheepishly, she grinned and stuck another dango ball in her mouth. But why ramen? You are sitting in the greatest dango restaurant in all of Konoha, and you order ramen. Did someone stick a hot coal in your mouth at birth or something? Instantly in serious mode, Naruto looked at her evenly. Because ramen is only the greatest food of all time. Not only is it filling, it comes in a wide variety of flavors and is high in carbohydrates, exactly what a growing body like mine needs. It also has a high sodium content which is the perfect cure for muscle cramps. It is delicious, nutritious and above all, incredibly tasty. Anko blinked several times as Naruto crossed his arms in finality. Kid, I didn't think you even knew those words, let alone how to put them into a sentence. And ramen is most definitely not nutritious. Where did you hear that? As if coming out of a nap, Naruto blinked and looked up at Anko. Nutritious? Is that a new brand of ramen? They fell into an uneasy quiet as they stared at each other. Anko slowly dropped an eyebrow as Naruto slightly tilted his head to the side in question. They continued staring until Kurenai finished ordering and looked back at the two. She looked from one to the other in confusion until she tapped Anko's arm. What did I just miss? Anko paused a moment. I'm not too sure myself. Kurenai looked at Naruto questioningly. Naruto? Naruto looked up at her with wide eyes. Yes, sensei. Kurenai glanced at Anko. What just happened? Naruto smiled and looked up as he remembered. Oh, I was just telling Snake Lady why ramen was like 100 times better than dango. Kurenai cocked an eyebrow at Anko and motioned for Naruto to continue. He didn't catch the hint though. Okay Naruto, what did you tell Anko? Naruto instantly went serious again. Ramen is only the greatest food of all time. Not only is it filling, it comes in a wide variety of flavors and is high in carbohydrates, exactly what a growing body like mine needs. It also has a high sodium content which is the perfect cure for muscle cramps. It is delicious, nutritious and above all, incredibly tasty. Kurenai's eyebrows shot up in surprise. While she didn't know the boy all that well, it was general knowledge that he struggled to piece together a word much bigger than 3 syllables. How did you know all that? Coming back down again, Naruto took a moment before looking up at her. Know what? She caught Anko's eye. Never mind. Anyway, how about we get on to the story about why you can't train? Sitting up a bit Naruto nodded. Alright. Well, it starts 2 days ago when something happened to my Oiroke no Jutsu. Basically I lost total. Butting in, Anko looked at the boy curiously. Wait, what? Naruto raised his eyebrows. That's right, you and Kurenai-sensei don't know. It's a transformation technique that turns me into a girl version of me. Both Jounin widened their eyes at this. Come again. It actually turns you into a girl? Naruto nodded. Do you have big boobs? Anko. Yup. And everything down below gets vaginified? Anko. Yup. Totally ignoring the fuming genjutsu mistress, Anko leaned back in wonder, a finger touching her chin. Well I'll be. That has to have thousands of applications. Naruto nodded unhappily. Yeah, but I've only ever met one person who actually thought it useful. Everyone else just calls me a pervert and smacks me. Kurenai came to the rescue, somewhat. Still very cautious, she was still open-minded enough to hear out any new technique created. Well. It sounds like it has its uses. What do you usually use it for? Naruto paused. Promise you won't hit me? Kurenai nodded. Okay, well, it's a diversionary technique. Anyone who has even a hint of perversion is instantly knocked out. Hearing this, both Jounins leaned in. How do you do this? Naruto paused. Well. I'm naked when I transform and then I jump on them. Anko instantly burst out laughing while Kurenai's eyes hardened and hands formed a seal. Instantly cowering, Naruto threw his hands out. Remember you promised. Freezing, the powerful woman took several breaths before forcibly pushing her arms down to her side. Calming herself, she spoke carefully through clenched teeth. You do realize what you're doing is making a mockery of women everywhere by using this? Naruto nodded slowly. Kinda, but it's only for a moment, and it's really effective. Like, I even beat Sarutobi Gigi with it. Anko slapped her hands down on the table, eyes wide in surprise. You even beat the Hokage with that? Naruto nodded proudly. Yup. Ain't met no one yet who can withstand it. While Anko was stunned into silent respect, Kurenai was running the whole scenario over in her head. No matter what way she looked at it, she still found it offensive. It must have been painfully obvious on her face though, because Naruto looked up with big puppy eyes and blinked several times. I'm really sorry, Kurenai-sensei. It's also a really good sneaking technique too. No one can tell who I am. Like, I've been running around the last 2 days as a girl half the time, and unless I tell people who I am, they don't know it's me. Frowning, she looked at the pleading boy sternly. She couldn't fault the second reason, and after consideration, she kind of understood the first. Every kunoichi had at least a little skin showing to distract the opposition. That was why she went around only wrapped in bandages and a top. Well, every kunoichi except Hinata. Sighing, she consented. Well. I do suppose you have a good excuse. Just try keep the nakedness to a minimum. Deal? Naruto nodded promptly. Deal. He also internally sighed in relief. His meal was still safe. Leaning back, he crossed his arms behind his head and continued. So yeah, anyway, from there I lost control of it. I do know how, but every few hours or so, poof. And I'd be a girl. Kakashi-sensei sent me to see Tsunade Bachan after he got an eyeful of me naked as a girl, and then she told me not to train. Wait, Kakashi saw you naked? Naruto growled. Yeah. I kicked him pretty hard in the guts for it too. Anko laughed. You're salty about that? But you just said you jump people naked for a distraction. Kurenai just shook her head as Anko continued to laugh. Naruto however started drooling and making gimme hands at the waiter who was bringing him his ramen. When the waiter saw who it was though, his eyes narrowed and his grip changed on the bowl. Here's your ramen, you filthy fox. He then sent it at the boy food first. The two jounin didn't even have time to blink before it smacked into Naruto's face with a wet squish. Turning to face the waiter, they were ready to gut him like a fish when an empty bowl hit the table and a satisfied burp sounded out behind them. Gah! Yummy! That's how I like it, fast and filling. Keep 'em coming. 3 sets of eyes landed on him in shock as Naruto licked up the remains of the food from his face. Anko poked his jaw just to see if it would dislocate like a certain someone she knew. How did you do that? You ate the whole bowl in what, a third of a second? How didn't it go all over your face? Naruto just grinned and licked his lips. I do know, that isn't too different to how I normally eat anyway. He looked up at Kurenai again with big eyes. Could I please have seconds? Still somewhat in shock, Kurenai nodded and turned to the waiter. You heard him. But if you pull a stunt like that again, I promise you I will make your wildest nightmares come true. Anko grinned and slid her tongue along the edge of her kunai. And then after her the real fun will start. Eeping, the man ran away in a flurry of, yes, sirs and towels. Turning back to the boy, Anko leaned in and sent Naruto a creepy smile. So, now we know why you can't train, tell me more about this technique of yours. Naruto leaned back slightly and looked up at Kurenai. What else do you want to know? I turn into a girl. Anko grinned wider and started crawling across the table. Well duh, like have you snuck into the women's baths yet? Or have you teased a guy into sexual paralysis yet? Or, have you shocked the hell out of other girls? Anko, behave yourself. Naruto started understanding what she wanted and frowned. Well, I haven't gone into the girl's bath yet. He eyed up Kurenai and saw her nodding dangerously. Swallowing, he continued. But I kinda sprung it on Tenten and she forgot how to move for a while, oh Hinata too. She's a massive closet pervert, did you know that? Fuzzy Brows has a crush on me, Ino is hunting me for leaving her with a massive shopping bill, Niji and Kiba tried to tell me about sex and sexing, I watched a porno with Tsunade Bachan, I flirted with Sasuke in front of his fangirls to save our lives and flashed the whole main street my bum. Anko whistled in surprise and Kurenai dropped her head into her hands, not fully comprehending just how this child managed to get himself into so much trouble. How about that? You do in 2 days what takes me a week. I'm so proud. Naruto sent her a winning smile. Thanks. After you shouted at me in the street I knew you weren't as bad as everyone said. Anko's grin became positively dangerous and she leered over Naruto. Not as bad, hey. She went to grab him but stopped mid-motion. Hang on a second, I shouted at you. Naruto nodded. Yup, when I was taking 10-10 home on my shoulder. Anko's eyes widened as she remembered and whistled again. No way. I thought you were just a girl out for some girl-on-girl action. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What? Girl-on-girl? What's that? Anko's smile turned from dangerous to predatory. Oh, it's when girls do the same thing as what you saw in that porno, just with each other. Blushing furiously, Kurenai slapped a hand down on the table. Enough, Anko. Naruto is barely a teenager. You shouldn't be telling him this stuff. Wait, what? Leaving the innocent boy's question unanswered, Anko jumped across the table, grabbed Kurenai's waist and pulled her in close, nuzzling her face. Oh come now Kurenai baby. He's gotta find out what it is eventually. Anko began trailing her fingers over Kurenai's stomach and slowly started moving her hand in a downward direction. Actually. Why not just show him what I mean? She then licked Kurenai's neck and blew on the wet patch. Anko, please stop. Anko leaned in and moaned into Kurenai's hair as her fingers got ever so lower. The whole store stopped and drool started running aplenty as the two kunoichi got down to business. Kurenai was blushing up a storm and desperately trying to free herself from Anko's devious grasp, not even noticing the stalled shop around them. She was far too flustered to escape however and jewelist before Anko's fingers disappeared. Thump. Jumping back over to the other side of the table again, Anko smiled brightly at Naruto. And that's that problem taken care of. Now, if you would come with me, I have many things to do with you. Pulling the boy away, he could only stare at the unconscious Kurenai in wonder at such a devastating tactic. He so had to learn that. Chapter 15. Today was a dangerous day. Word had spread throughout the city that of all the days of the year, this was going to prove to be the most hazardous. Gossip rapidly enhanced these stories to the point that everyone, even the ninja of the village, were taking a look over their shoulder to make sure they weren't being followed. Normally such a powerful village as this didn't have anything to fear as it could easily dispatch any enemies that tried attacking. However, when the threat is from within, from its own very members, that is when true panic can be assured. The reason for this was because two particularly heinous individuals had been spotted walking side by side down the main street until they disappeared into the shadows of Konoha. This day had always been feared but had never actually happened until now. Some even went as far to say it was predestined. The union of the two most despised figures of Konoha. Uzumaki Naruto and Mitarashi Anko. One can only begin to speculate on the horrific destruction those two could unleash on the innocent people. Why even now, they could very well be plotting the downfall of Konohagakure. XXXX. But Anko-chan. I still didn't get that other bowl of ramen. I wanna go back. Shut up. We're not going back and that's final. Besides, ramen sucks anyway. No, ramen is only the greatest food of. I swear, you say that one more time and I will gut you, season you, and then feed you to my snakes. You're just jealous Kurenai-sensei didn't buy you dango. I don't need sympathy food when I can afford it myself, orphan. You're so jealous. Am not. R2. Am not. R2. Am not. R2. Now nose to nose, the two glared each other down until Enko smiled. She then flicked his head hard and made Naruto stumble backwards, crying out in pain. Ow! What the hell? Just because you can't take the truth you go all violent. Enko just shrugged. Maybe, but it makes me feel better anyhow. She grinned wider as she saw Naruto lining her up for a tackle. Aha! Didn't the Hokage specifically tell you not to train? Growling, Naruto paused. Some form of conversation went on within his head and then he charged. Totally catching Enko off guard, he had butted her square in the gut, knocking her back into the wall with a loud goof. Looking at the blonde in annoyance, she marched up to him and picked him up clean off his feet. What was that? You're not supposed to attack people, you little dropkick. Tsunade told you you couldn't. Naruto just stuck his tongue out at her as far as he could. I'm not meant to train. Getting even with you isn't counted. Besides, I still want my ramen. Enko shook him like a doll. You're not going back. You are coming with me, we are going to embarrass the hell out of a bunch of people and you are going to enjoy it. Slightly dazed from the shake, he looked up at Enko questioningly. What? Is that why you brought me out here? Enko rolled her eyes. Nodder. Of course that's the reason. What else were you thinking? Naruto's eyes lit up. I thought you were gonna show me how you took out Kurenai-sensei. Enko chuckled. Oh, that. That's an advanced technique. I'll tell you later. Naruto giggled happily. That was gonna be a keeper. That quickly reminded him of something else though. Wait, so what was that girl-on-girl thing you said? Enko dropped Naruto and started walking along. How do I say this? You remember that porno Tsunade-sama showed you? Naruto dusted himself down and ran after her. Yup. It was a pretty intense show. Enko grinned. Well, just imagine that with only chicks. Naruto stopped walking. Huh? Why would they do that? That's totally pointless. Enko looked at him in surprise. Are you for real? Naruto squinted up at her. Yeah. You need a guy and a girl to make the baby. 2 girls. That's just weird. And again, pointless. Enko whistled in surprise. Well, I'll be. You have gotta be one of the few guys in all of Konoha who don't like that kinda stuff. Naruto shrugged. Well then, they're all weird too. Enko raised an eyebrow. Are you by chance gay? Naruto sent her a weird look. Not sure how this relates to the topic but yeah, I'm happy most of the time. Enko shook her head. Never mind. Anyway, on to the real reason we're here. Naruto instantly brightened. Yeah, to embarrass people and stuff. He then frowned. But how are we gonna do that? Enko shrugged. I do know. We'll work something out. I mean, you're the biggest prankster the village has ever seen and I'm me. Ah. Bamf. Enko grinned. So many more possibilities just appeared. Naruto sighed. Yeah. Damn thing. Leaning in, Enko took a closer look at Naruto. Wow, you really are a stunner, aren't you? It's a surprise you don't have more boys after you. Naruto shuddered. No thanks. Having Lee chasing my tail is plenty enough. On that note though, could you please tell me when they're close so I can hide? Enko smiled sweetly with fingers crossed behind her back. Sure. Now, to liven up this dull community. Naruto, if you would follow me. The girl hopped happily into step with the older woman, quite ready to unleash a world of orange upon the people. XXXX. The following few hours proceeded to be highly productive. All forms of pranks and setups were placed, ranging from the classic bucket full of water on the door right through to the "thanks for last night" letters dropped off in random letterboxes. One particular prank that Anko was especially proud of was when she convinced Naruto to go and hug a random woman from behind and tell her how much she loved her. The simplicity of it was pure gold, as from there the prank matured itself. Hiding on a roof, the two ninja struggled to keep their voices down as the woman blushed deeply and her husband was left unconscious by the apparent revelation. When he came to, a loud shouting session resulted, the man expressed his interest, the woman voiced her disapproval, several colorful words were exchanged and they then fell into a tangled mess of adults making out. Not exactly what Anko and Naruto predicted, but hey, it was funny. Naruto then spotted Hinata and grinned. "Hey Anko. Watch this." Wondering what he was going to do, she hunkered down and prepared for the show. Landing behind Hinata, Naruto gave her a tap on the shoulder and moved around behind the girl as she turned. "Hey Hinata." Squealing in surprise, the girl spun around. "And Naruto-kun. Where did you come from?" Naruto smiled. "Behind you." "Hey, what were you looking at?" Hinata turned slightly. "Someone tapped my shoulder, so I thought." Naruto's eyes widened. "Oh, is that them? Where?" Turning, she saw Naruto in the exact same pose looking away from her. "So, is that them?" "Wah." Turning back, she looked over her shoulder again. Seeing no one, she turned back to see no one there. "Oh, must have missed them. Oh well." Squealing again, Hinata whipped around to face Naruto. "Naruto-kun. What the dash? What's wrong, Hinata-chan?" She pointed behind herself. "You were just there and now you're here." Naruto shook her head. "Nope, I've been here the whole time." "Are you okay?" Hinata looked behind herself, her eyes wide. But I just saw you standing there." Turning back, she found no one. "Well, of course, Hinata-chan. I've been here the whole time." Spinning back around, she saw Naruto looking at her strangely. Holding her head in her hands, Hinata moaned. "Naruto-kun, please, this is hurting my head." Naruto just cocked her head at the girl, internally grinning. Anko, however, was having a right laugh at Naruto making use of a simple well-placed clone and damn good timing to confuse the hell out of the poor girl. This continued on for a few more moments until Hinata politely excused herself before running away to find someone to check her sanity with. Jumping back up, Naruto sent Anko a proud grin. "It's the simple stuff that works so well." Anko nodded in agreement. "For sure. What next?" Upon looking around, Anko spied a certain best friend of hers that was always good for the tail end of a practical joke. Grinning, she leapt down to greet Kurenai. "How's it goin'? I see you woke up." Kurenai growled at her friend. "I ought to lock you up in my worst technique after that stunt. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was for me to wake up to a restaurant filled with all sorts of people drooling on me?" Anko grinned. "Yup, happens to me all the time. It's called alcohol. Say it with me, alcohol. It's up there with you as my best friend. I should introduce you to sometime." Kurenai snorted. "No thanks. I prefer to keep my mind, especially when I'm around you." Anko sidled up close to the frowning Jounin. "Oh come now, Nai baby. Don't be like that. I'm just helping you lighten up." Not amused, Kurenai gave Anko a hefty shove and sent her stumbling backwards. Hearing a thump, the two Jounin looked over. Kurenai raised an eyebrow and Anko smirked. Good to see Naruto getting involved. The blonde ran over and helped the taller lady out of the dirt she fell into. What caught Anko's attention though was the large amount of cleavage that was mere centimeters away from her face. Taking another look, she saw that Naruto had gone and, from who knows where, managed to get her hands onto some of the sexiest clothing Anko had ever seen, and that was saying a lot. Her feet were covered with incredibly pointy high heels that only seemed to make her already infinite legs longer. A tiny mini skirt hung around her waist that was cut up the sides, revealing even more luscious leg than normal. A strange top that barely maintained modesty was covering her chest. The back was cut out, revealing that the girl was wearing no bra. Her face was also ever so tainted with the mildest hint of makeup, and her hair was let out, the long silky locks cascading down and around her face like the most beautiful of waterfalls. All in all, Anko had never seen a more alluring girl in all her years and was thoroughly impressed. Looking over, she saw a highly unimpressed woman staring at them, arms crossed. While being classed as one of the top fighters in all of Konoha, Anko knew her chances of holding up against a raging Kurenai was slim. Whatever you're planning, Naruto, I sure hope it's good. 'Cause this could get ugly. Naruto, seeing the look in her companion's eye, simply sent her a crafty wink and spun around sharply. My, you must be Yuhi Kurenai. I've heard all about you. Anko's eyes widened at the adorable squeaky voice that the blonde let out. It sounded even more ditzy than that Ino chick was. Watching Naruto rush up to a suspicious Kurenai, Anko bit her lip in apprehension. This could be awesome, or it could be disaster. Holding her hand out, Naruto's wide eyes gleamed up at Kurenai in awe. You are the illusion mistress of Konoha, yeah? I have always wanted to meet you. Anko-chan there is always telling me about your amazing illusions and stuff. Seriously, you're like, my total idol. Imagine being able to hide all those nasty pimples and things like that with a wave of your hand. You're so incredibly awesome, it's like, unreal. Kurenai looked down at the girl in distaste. Taking the girl's hand like it was a old hanky, she shook it once before quickly letting go. Really? And you are? Naruto gasped. Oh, I totally forgot. I'm Anko's little cousin from the other side of the fire country. Kurenai raised an incredulous eyebrow and Anko fought the urge to facepalm. Seriously, everyone in Konoha knew she had no relatives. That had to be the worst cover ever. Kurenai of course, saw straight through it. Honestly Naruto, you could have tried harder than that. I know everything about Anko there is to know, and that was a terrible effort, I must say. Her eyes then hardened. But as for using this disgusting form of yours on me, well, let's just say I am not at all impressed. Bringing her hands up, she focused her chakra. Believe me when I say after this, you will never want to use this form ever again. Kai. Pop. Anko's sweat dropped as she resisted the urge to shake her head. That's it, game over. Now both of them will get Kurenai's wrath, and then, Naruto will get the life beaten out of him by Anko, assuming they survive. Looking up, she sighed as the smoke cleared. What she saw though was unexpected. Naruto, still fully female, was now fully nude. The whole world seemed to grind to a halt as every set of eyes within range tuned into the stunning body glowing in the afternoon sun. The perfect curves. The immaculate legs. The firm stomach. The ever so perky breasts. Iyahai. Windows shattered as Naruto's shrill voice reached pitches that had the Inuzuka dogs howling in the distance in pain. You pervert. Kurenai instantly went shock red, unbelief displayed across her face. There's no way. You are. But what? You're not Naruto. The girl just curled her legs together and wrapped her hands over her chest and screamed again. Kurenai held her hands out and looked around in fear. Every single one of these people saw her dispel this girl's clothing. There was no escaping this. No escaping. Thump. Naruto looked down at Kurenai. The Jounin sensei now lay in a heap at the blonde's feet, unconscious for a second time that day. Smiling brightly, Naruto ignored the stares and snapped her fingers. In a small puff, she was now covered in more decent clothes. Turning, she looked at Anko and threw her the victory sign. Woo! Chalk one up to me again. Nothing happened for a moment until a gut-busting laughter ripped through the streets. Collapsing into the dirt, Anko held her sides until she was sure she was going to die. This continued on for several more minutes until she finally managed to get herself under control. During that time, Naruto had managed to glare the civilians away, staring at them until they were too uncomfortable to watch any longer. Feeling a solid hand land on her shoulder, Naruto looked up. Anko was still chuckling, a hand wiping away several tears that were still falling. Giving her shoulder a squeeze, Anko shook her head. Seriously, that was the greatest thing I have ever seen. I was certain we were gonna be dead, but then that. Outstanding. But how did you not dispel? Naruto grinned up at Anko and cupped a handful of her own boobs. Can't dispel what's real. Anko's eyebrows raised in surprise. Wow, that's an honest-to-goodness transformation. Damn, you are so gonna have to show me how to do that. Naruto smiled. I'll trade you then. You tell me how you took down Kurenai-sensei and I'll show you this. Anko shook her head. No need there, squirt. You just did that times 10. She wiped away a fake tear. I'm so proud. Naruto beamed up at her happily before looking down at the fallen woman. So what will we do with sensei? Anko hoisted the woman onto a shoulder and motioned for Naruto to follow her. We'll take her back to my place. Can't just leave her in the dirt. Naruto nodded and trotted along beside the taller lady. Anko rested a hand on Naruto's head as they walked and let out another small laugh. You know what, kid? You ain't too bad. Not too bad at all.